my gosh, it has the entire chat history there. Okay. Hello. Uh, Hi everyone. Okay, so hello Starlight and hello Gifted, my first viewers. All right. So to get into this, the purpose of today, or rather this stream or the next couple streams, is going to be to try and figure out how to learn and to start doing anything. The idea is to have a plan. No. All right. So how do we learn how to learn? How do we do anything? So, well, step one is to we have a plan. Step two is to follow it. Now, when you have an idea, like when you know that people want to improve on something, generally well, let's look at our data for knowing people who've gotten good at stuff. Can you guys think of anyone who's gotten good at anything ever? What do you feel like their process was? From the stuff that I've watched, it feels like the process that works is one. So let's type this out. There's a process. And what is the process? Well, generally, it's going to be one. You oops. Oh god, what's happening to my... Okay, there we go. You consume content, or otherwise see how good. See, usually human beings are much like... Oh, thank you, Star. So usually human beings are much like machines in the way that... Hi Mylin, great to see you. Okay, so usually human beings are much like machines, where they kind of see something that makes the happy chemicals run and then replicate it such that they're able to produce those happy chemicals for themselves. Now, you wouldn't imagine that to exist in academia. Like most people, when they think of academia, they're thinking of like being incredibly terrified of their upcoming exam. But what they're terrified of is failure. If you had a button you could press to guarantee 100% on a course, you wouldn't be terrified. You'd be excited. So the fear then becomes not it's to show that actually succeeding in learning and succeeding in performing well in academia can produce happy chemicals. So people want to be able to do that. So if you had some way to produce happy chemicals, you would do that. So academia falls in under this picture of one, consume content that helps you produce those happy chemicals, and then try to produce those happy chemicals for yourself. That's generally the process for learning anything, as far as I'm aware. And if it's, for example, art, you want to try and produce the happy chemicals of looking at nature. If it's math, you want to produce the happy chemicals of reaching the correct answer. Ultimately, it's just how to go from... Oh, hello. Thanks for following, Star. So the goal becomes actually, getting there. So let's see. We need to consume content, but if you just look at brain rot... Nice. So if you just look at brain rot and you look at stuff that isn't conducive to reaching that point, I mean, you can still reach that point, I suppose, but it's not going to be very fast. right? If an immortal spends 800 years watching, um, you know, just random slob of people playing Apex Legends, eventually they can learn, um, well, math, I suppose, when they get bored enough to start doing math for the small stuff in Apex Legends. So if you're gonna pick something, right? Okay, so one is content to replicate because you need to have a goal. So let me put that in. So one is to have a goal or an aim for whatever you're trying to do. Oh wait, I can just use my wheel mouse to drag. That's useful. Okay, so step one is to have some kind of goal and aim, something you observed in the world and you want to replicate. That's the point of learning that thing. Or rather, I guess you can call it the why. I'm running out of screen space there. Damn it. Um, Let me draw that a wee bit neater. Aim slash. It shows that I was born literally today and have no experience using the drawing tablet. Okay, so the first um well thing is to have something you want to make, something to replicate, a goal, an aim, or rather the why as to why you want to do that thing, make that thing, learn that thing. Step two is to filter, because um if you have better content to replicate, then you have better learning and you reach your endpoint faster. Because for example, let's look at this logically. If you were given a guarantee to hit your goal within by like grabbing a ball 10 times when it's thrown at you, then that's what the optimal play would be. You never want to do something that takes too long. So step two is filter. How? This is the big question. How to filter that? Let me actually do one thing. It appears my terminal has been nuked by OBS. Wait, OBS, can you please detect my terminal? OBS, I'm asking kindly. Oh, come on, OBS. Okay. Let's see what I can do here. Wait, maybe if I aha. Okay, I think I got it. So I have to change it from um okay, so changing its forms allowed me to catch it and get what I need here. Okay, perfect. So um how do we do? How do we do something? One, plan, goal, aim. Second, improve. Wait, no, not plan, goal, aim. It would just be goal or aim. Have a goal or aim, or any kind of endpoint. Then have slash make a plan. 3, reach there. It's logical. That's what makes sense. So how to plan? Well, no clue. And it seems most people don't really know. We simply do and hope for the best. If you look at for example, you ask your friend how they study for an exam, right? Their plan for studying won't necessarily be based on science. It won't be based on any major thing that, like, they manage to come to just they won't have a test they performed on 100 people and personally observe that in under certain circumstances they would end up learning something. They would just do what their friends did, their parents did. They observe and they consume from the people around them. And maybe there's some kid in Harvard who knows how to memorize 300 stuff in one day, but the only reason he knows is because he's around people who taught him that. And anyone could have learned that. It's all a matter of, well, there are lots of things. There's natural aptitude, there's experience doing that thing, there's a lot of things. But one thing that is nature independent is having an approach that can work for you is better, or at least an approach that works for some people is better than having a complete YOLO approach based on no data, no science, no life. So actually let me add that to plan. So how do we plan? One, have some kind of data. Because ultimately you can't even classify what type of person you are, right? And if people could do that accurately, then they'd be in way better places in their lives. So most people, let me add that actually. Most people can't accurately. Speaking of, let me add some music. That kind of ended up dying. How's the music volume looking like for you guys? Okay. So step one is to have some kind of data. Most people can't accurately assess themselves and where they stand. And so your best hope as a complete average on a bell curve is to find out, either have some heuristic to find out where you stand. Now let me move that down. Oh, yikes. Okay, so either have some kind of heuristic to find out where you stand, or simply follow the data. So, okay, when I say simply follow the data, what I mean is, say 90% of people who finish some book end up getting high marks in the GRE. If you know this, if you finish that GRE book, you have a really high probability of getting high marks in the GRE. So this is what makes an average case well-functioning plan, because plans that are the wider spread that a plan can apply on, the higher the chance of that capturing you as a person who might not have the best assessment as to who you are or where you stand. And it's this is something that ends up getting logged into ego, right? A lot of people, even if it's in a softer form of ego, right? A lot of people like to think that they understand themselves, but it's hard. It's honestly one of the hardest things to do in life, to properly understand where you stand. So oh yeah, speaking of, let me actually make sure I don't yap for too long by adding a timer. Let's see, we'll give it till 4:30. So yap time till 4:30 p.m. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, we need to, well, just trust in the data, because that's all we can really do. Oh, and how do we find useful data? So how to data? I'm just gonna keep it very ooga booga in its words. follow the data, which is very similar to have a plan, follow a plan. So how do we follow data? Well, wait, rather not even follow. How do we get data? Because there's a lot of claims you're gonna find. If I Google right now, actually, let's try this. So let's see. This is on screen. Oh, that looks like YouTube. Oh my god, is it catching Firefox? It is catching Firefox. Holy crap. That's the wrong browser. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, it was streaming my the little browser I opened just to look at like chat. Okay, there we go. So okay. If we try to follow a quote unquote logical approach, which is we try to find out how to get data. So let's see what happens if I search how to pass math test. What do we imagine will be the first few search results? WikiHow, another WikiHow, Quizlet, another WikiHow, Brains Matter Learning, this study.com, WikiHow. What type of people are making these? So what are our data sources here? What data is going into this? Is this just like what some dude decided? Like what credentials or qualifications does this have? So let's see. Co-authored by the... Oh, go back. Show me. Oh shit, this is actually a math instructor at 40 years. So this person has some qualifications. Who the person who made this WikiHow article. And let's see. You follow a practice test, create a study sheet with important information, watch YouTube videos, assign homework for your class, or blah, blah, blah. That's actually pretty good advice that this person's been giving, creating flashcards. And so this is a case of you searching something and the very top result having actually, the credentials to back up their kind of advice and their advice being good. One thing to be concerned about, like besides this, is just know that a person being a teacher doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a good teacher. Even though in this case we have run into a positive indicator of an educator being good at educating. This is not something that will always be true, especially when in a lot of higher education you're going to see people who are very learned but not very good at communicating their thoughts. So over here we have another tutor who has 8 years of teaching math in one-on-one classrooms in class and 9 years of one-on-one tutoring. And yeah, so WikiHow has generally been very good at filtering their sources. This one is sourced by nobody we can see. So all of this is just to say that your first couple sources that you run into when trying to learn something won't necessarily have oh hey, that's pretty cool. Won't necessarily have the kind of sources you're looking for, especially in the internet where there aren't too many filters to ensure it. And even those who teach won't they'll have good approaches, but not necessarily something that can work too well. So it's a shot in the dark, and you'll often have to just rely on what not what makes sense to you per se, but what has produced results for sure. And again, it's ultimately you'll often be forced to make your own decisions as to which sources you're able to follow. But I guess one heuristic that you can follow, actually let me note it down. So one heuristic is I suppose number of shares. something that's for learning and is more viral isn't guaranteed to be better, but it is something that may have resonated with more people and is has a higher potential to be better. So let me actually add this as well. One heuristic is qualifications. So heuristics, number of shares, and more people resonated with it. And this one is more people, I suppose, more high quality data, I suppose. Okay. Hey Star, what experiences have you had with teachers that really felt like they connected with you? What type of, like, what did it feel like for you? What made them be like easy to follow, fun to follow, and kind of, stick around in your head? So when we're looking at these ideas that resonate with people, right? People will generally be associating them to times of great learning, which is a positive criteria, because which is positive because association to great learning would be a higher chance of learning from it. The best thing we could get, I suppose, one good heuristic as well, is proven results. How can we prove results? Like, I guess just hope that there's some people down there commenting that it worked for them, because that's how you know, right? If you're looking at a coaching that's happening for like Valorant or whatever, right? You're gonna have some guy say that they followed this coach and they ended up hitting like masters or whatever the heck they call it there. So well, that some guy ends up being a like proof to the pudding that once you've cooked something, if someone says it tastes good, then there's a higher chance that it tastes good. I say chance because there's a chance that somebody just likes salt a lot and you put 5 tons of salt inside your cake and they're like, hell yeah, I love salt cake. So it's the situation, it's just what happens when you're trying to make something. You can't know if it's going to be good, and even if people give you feedback on it. Speaking of, actually, let me add the a timer for end as well, because I can. Haha. So okay. Now I think we're gonna move on to actually watching videos. So I'm gonna keep a timer for, what's the time right now? 4:30. So let's use 5:15 as the time for recall, or rather, just like discussing what's been noted so far. Hell yeah, videos. Yeah. So where's my freaking browser? Bring me back. Okay. So how to learn. just how to learn. Scientific. So we've got these 3 videos. Let's see. 5 videos on the top. How to learn. Please help me. So let's see. We'll catch these 5 videos. So did I open a new? Oh god. I'm getting nuked by my new browser. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Ow. Go back. You're not supposed to open the main tab. 4. Geez, why is this misbehaving? I'm holding control down. 4. Hell yeah. Okay, that's it. So just these top 5 videos. Because as per heuristic number, where did it go? As per heuristic number 2, more people resonate, higher chance of learning. And we can also use the proven results thing. Plus, Barbara Oakley is heavily qualified, so that she fits heuristic 1 as well. And I have no idea about these guys. Who are these guys? Who are these people? Okay, let's just confirm who they are. This guy's an animator and storyteller.
My God, man, I used to love Japan so much.
Hasn't mentioned anything about who they are.
I definitely had a period where I fell out of it and nothing quite hit. Like
so they might be a normal person. But even so, remember, these heuristics aren't all like, you know, sometimes they're not all stuff that must always exist. There will be times where completely ordinary people without like what's the term? Without serious education on something can end up becoming some of the people who carve the new way for that, even though it's statistically improbable. Toby Fox, for instance, like the guy who's making the music you can hear behind you, he changed a lot of music dev, a lot of game dev by a lot. And even though he learned by ear and has no official qualification for the stuff that he's working on. So
in this video,
we aren't necessarily going to shut them down, but it's still important to know about the qualifications that they have. This guy was a doctor and is an education author. Yeah, it honestly is crazy how much people can teach themselves. It's something that I feel like when you're doing higher education, you have this experience where you, by actually doing it, just figure out how little you're getting from class. And a lot of people often feel like they've been cheated off of their money because they had to do so much work themselves. But what like a lot of higher education actually does is it's there not to feed the information to you like you're a kid, but it's to empower you to seek that information yourself. So it's about confidence and empowerment, really. And sometimes people don't need to go to academia to get that. They just need to maybe have the right support, the right surroundings, the right kind of people. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to help other people find for themselves, to get that, you know, self-empowerment. And not to, like, some people will be too empowered and they'll end up saying the earth is flat. But like, if you have a good like very strong strategy and something to self-check, then you can actually challenge that like brain rot you can possibly get from empowering. Wow, Gifted, you say the earth is flat, huh? I believe it. Hey. Only my the flesh person in charge is the one who's doing the Vim stuff. I was born today. I have no idea what this is. I'm just I'm doing what I'm doing. So let's see. Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. The flesh person in charge is just this laugh energy coming. Hey, I'm not a flesh tuber. I'm a robot. I was born today. I don't know. This is as per my lore, I have this creature haunting me, and it gives me chemical responses, and I just have to deal with it. Okay, so where were we? Yes. Hey. Look, the streamer makes the community, and currently you guys are the community. So if I'm awesome, then you know, it shows where it's coming from. Or the other way around? Or I don't know quite how it works. But yeah. Okay, so this guy has like a lot of qualifications, clearly. He's a doctor, which means he's taught himself a lot of stuff. He's a speaker, he's an education author, and he makes videos. And the important thing is here is co-founder and head of learning at some place called I Can Study. Proven results of helping people around the world develop experience and blah 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 blah. 7 years working in non-profit. Okay. The fact that it's in the non-profit education space actually lowers the negative impact of this. Because while a lot of people, like content creators, are gonna want to, I don't know, over monetize, by which I mean, like, you know, just kind of focus more on the money, end up making like 6 slop videos for the sake of just getting tons of videos out. His efforts in the non-profit education space suggest that he has a higher likelihood of making videos he genuinely believes in. Damn. An enterprise he founded in New Zealand. So yeah, this guy has some very good credentials, and so does Barbara Oakley. So we have a good set of videos to try to understand from. Except for this one, but this one has 6.5 million views, which could potentially be because it's animated, but we'll see. I also have Barbara Oakley's book. I mean, no, I don't know where I got it from. It was just transferred onto my computer by the Flesh prison. So I just noted that I had it as I was starting stream. So I've seen this name before. Okay, let's start with what do you guys think? YOLO, let's start with this one. And then the animated one. Actually, then the Feynman technique. There you go. Yes. So this one, is this the animated one? Is it? Neat. Okay. So we'll be going down by order of how heavy the content looks like from its length and from the person who's teaching it. So let's try this. Is the sound coming okay, guys?
During their training, medical residents learn countless
Holy crap, it's so low in volume over there.
surgeries and procedures which they'll later use to save lives.
Awesome.
Being able to remember
Let me move
these
it slightly
skills
up
can quite
and
literally be a
make
matter
sure-
of life and death. With this in mind, a 2006 research study took a class of surgical residents learning to suture arteries and split them into 2 groups. Each received the same study materials.
There we
but
go.
one group implemented
Is
a
this okay?
small change in how they studied them. And when tested 1 month later, this group performed the surgeries significantly better than the other residents. We'll discuss the secret to that group's success.
Oh my god, so
along
slow.
with 2
My
other
brain.
highly effective study techniques, which can be applied both in and out of the classroom. But to understand why these methods work, let's first unpack how the brain learns and stores information.
Yeah, it's nice to
Say
know how
you're
the brain
trying
works.
to memorize the anatomy of the heart. When you're introduced to a new concept, the memory is temporarily encoded in groups of neurons in a brain area called the hippocampus. As you continue to learn about workings of the heart in class or study its chambers for an exam, you reactivate these same neurons.
Okay, so how brain? 1, encode info. How? I don't know. 2, repeat info. It become stronger. I'm gonna push this down so that I don't get brain rot. And let's get back to this.
This repeated firing strengthens the connections between
I could have
the cells.
simply just
Signal-
done like 8-0, I think, to go down. Let's try that. So 8-0. No. Oh yeah, it did work. Lol. Okay.
stabilizing the memory. Gradually, the knowledge of heart anatomy is stored long-term, which involves another brain area known as the neocortex. How information is
Okay. So wait, how did it go there?
which involves another brain area known as the neocortex.
Oh, he didn't mention
How
it yet.
information is transferred from short-term to long-term storage is still not completely under.
Okay, so So that basically means how? It's just the way of life. Look, one of the important things of life, important realities is one, poor self-assessment, which I mentioned before, and two is we know very little about anything really, and we will continue to know very little even when educated about the thing, even at 95 percentile of learners, or even let's just say 99 percentile of learners of that thing, because that's how human understanding of the world is. Like we can only work with the frameworks. Actually, I like that. We can only hope and trust in the frameworks that have higher results with current understanding. And I'm gonna spice it up by adding some colors to this. Oops. Now you'd say why I'm doing it in such an inefficient way. The why is because I am simply a robot who was born today, so, and will die today, allegedly. So I would not know why, like, unless there've been notes made of the. Don't worry, the flesh tuber in charge, the not flesh tuber, the flesh prison in charge will make sure to initialize the next one, I guess. And anything I note down will be stored in permanent memory, which the next robot will remember. So that is how it is. Okay, so.
Good, but it's thought to happen in between study sessions.
So this learning that is occurring. Oh, don't be sad. There'll be isn't that basically also what happens to humans? Every day they have a soft memory wipe and they just retain memories that are being pulled off of their brain, like some kind of like a computer starting up, only to just have whatever stored in there. You don't have the exact same flow of thoughts that was happening the previous day. You just have to download the thoughts and go, like, you know, it's that thing where you wake up for an exam, right? The second you wake up, you don't necessarily know you have an exam at that moment. You have hey. Being forgetful, allegedly, would be you messing up over, where did it go? Yeah, would be you messing up over here. When we have less practice of repeating information to ourselves after learning it, and have only ever done that during moments where we were terrified or otherwise strongly emotionally impacted, it would make sense that we would be forgetful because we've feared that pattern out of our own minds. So all we need to do is actually practice this without the fear of death. This encoding info and then repeating info. So if you can find a way to do this without anxiety, my hypothesis is that it should help you with your memory. But now, you know, encoding and repeating info that way would be, for example, putting it on your Google Calendar and then having reminders for it, or having timers on your phone which start ringing and freak you out for stuff that's not too important. Like, it wouldn't go like, oh shit, I missed it, my life is over, oh no, I had to go there, oh god. So for smaller things, for less stressful things. So Star, when you practiced forgetting everything about the exams, just imagine what a brain that's been practicing that concept of forgetting things right after it's the moment it de-stresses, its first impulse is, okay, let's forget everything, right? If you've been training your brain for that, that's kind of what happens in adulthood. You've trained your brain to destroy information it doesn't need to survive. You force your brain to become inefficient against its will. No, to become efficient against its will, not inefficient. So it being overly efficient, it's like, imagine you have 100 terabyte of storage space. You're not dumb. Imagine you have 100 terabyte of storage space, but the moment it goes to like 1 TB, you're like, holy shit, I gotta delete everything. That's basically what you're doing to yourself. Oh, all right. Catch you later, gifted. Thank you for stopping in. It was nice to have you. Get out. Wow. Don't be mean to him. He's trying his best. Wow. I love that gun emote so much. Especially the little like star thingies. Oh, it doesn't have the star thingies in this one. I thought it did. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, as I was saying, the way that the brain kind of sees things and tries to, repeat, there's this concept of use it or lose it. And so, the more your brain follows a certain path, the more it tries to repeat a certain pattern, the more it's likely to repeat that pattern. It's actually, there's a really good metaphor for it. So, the brain is not the brain is a dirt path. The more a path is being walked on, the easier it becomes to walk on that, but also it becomes harder to pick other paths until eventually it's basically like brick the rest of the paths, and you need to really dig deep to break into them. So a lot of us who've lived life in a very emotional manner, which is the flesh prison included, they've ended up really treading a path in that dirt path. And what you're eventually going to have to do, if you ever really need to make the brain stronger at doing something, is to decide to take the pain of breaking open a new path. And honestly, this is actually way easier than it looks. So either put effort and learn thing you need, or learn things, whatever things, during no stress time. So when I say whatever things, I literally mean whatever things. Like you can learn freaking knitting for all that matters, right? You can learn let's see, just pick anything, new game, new, like, just photography, like whatever the hell you want. Like, just learning a thing makes your brain better at learning things, which means, let's go back to the dirt path analogy, right? So let me actually make an arrow down here so that I can, and let me push this down as well. Okay, so either you put effort and learn the thing you need, or you learn whatever things that you want to during the no stress time. And that means that if you want to learn something new, rather, in this analogy, let me actually put this, better at breaking dirt, or this would be bash at a path to break it and create a new one. Bash at the dirt. Yeah. There you go. So those are the two things you can do. Or actually, there's one more. Or keep practicing thing with routine. Keep walking on new area until dirt path formed. So say I'm bad at art, I'm terrible at art. Like it's just it's not great, right? The best way for me to improve at art would be just to make sure to do a little bit of art every day, or to force myself to do one of those challenges and just do 100 hours of art like within a month, or for me to just learn like pixel art, to learn photography, and then to use the fundamentals from those in art. It's just a lot of different ways we can approach learning here. So I should have been doing all of this during the recall section, but you know what? We'll do what
and
we
perhaps
gotta.
most crucially, during sleep.
What's
Here,
the stream
new
with our
knowledge
little
is
scuff?
integrated with other related concepts you already know, such as how to measure heart rate or the anatomy of
Freak it, we ball. Exactly.
other organs. And the
Gosh
process
dang it, we
doesn't
must
end
ball.
there. Each time you recall heart anatomy, you reactivate the long-term memory, which makes it susceptible to change. The knowledge can be updated, strengthened.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we often, okay, so the way that we encode information in our brain, right? From what I know, or rather the voices in my head, they say that this info that's encoded is generally also like that of a computer. Imagine you have you've compressed like a zip file or something, right? And you got some compression rate, so it's down to some amount of space. Now, what your brain does is, imagine it gets better at well, that kind of goes into the lower one. It gets better at zipping this file every time you do it. And so this act of extracting the file and zipping it and extracting the file and zipping it is incredibly important. It's actually both of them, both extraction, learning to encode, or rather decode in this case, decode, and encoding, or rather, and I don't know, saving. Let's see, what's the word? Like, what word could I use for this? Both extraction and I don't know, ingestion. Learning to encode can make this more effective slash efficient slash strong. And actually, let me add this down here so that it doesn't eat up my brain, because it's getting a little messy. And also, let me do one thing. I'm going to make these headings. Haha. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so learning to decode information, learning to encode the information, and generally practicing making, do this whole process makes brain good. And I don't know what point I was going for here, but we've lost it now, Lamau. I've forgotten. Oh no. Let me close and reopen it because I broke. Okay. Yeah. Good brain. Brain do thing. Be better. It makes it more efficient, effective, and stronger. Yes. Ooh. Good of that to do. I should be moving these forwards. It does become way more readable. Thanks, automatic automatic formatting. Okay, there we go. Back to this. We have 20 minutes left.
With other pieces of information. This is where our first study technique comes in. Testing yourself with flashcards and quizzes forces you to actively retrieve knowledge, which updates and strengthens the memory.
Yeah,
Students
practicing, put information in, take information out, practice, make brain good.
often prefer
Makes
other
sense.
study methods, like rereading textbooks and highlighting notes. But
So
these
same thing here.
practices
Put information in, take information out, make brain better.
can generate
So actually, let me add a note section down here. Put info in plus take info out, brain better. There you go. And I'm gonna give this a nice color. Wonderful. There we go. And put the next arrow in here just for later. Okay.
a false sense of competence, since the information is
Oh, exactly. Let me add that. Careful. If you only decoding, so wait, no, sorry, only encoding will produce delusions of grandeur. So if you only study stuff, right, and you never test yourself on how good you are at taking it out, the issue becomes you're not tested on how well you can hold info in short-term memory. You're tested on how well you can pull info out of long-term memory. So if you just study and you don't practice actually pulling that info out of your brain, you will permanently live in that situation of just having these delusions of actually understanding your topic. I mean, understanding is a hard word here. There's knowing the thing. Like, for example, sorry, I had to hydrate. I felt myself dying. Oh, I mean, the flesh prison had to hydrate. They were hurting my voice. Right. So, they flesh? How dare? Yes, unfortunately, it's I feel it in my brain. It says things to me. I have to, or brain, whatever, the computer chip or whatever the heck from this time machine that I'm in. It has these voices that say things. It transfers its illnesses to me if I don't appease it. Flesh, disgusting. How dare it exist? The voices. Okay, let's get back to this.
right in front of you. Testing yourself, however, allows you to more accurately
See, this makes sense logically. Take information out of head, make better at take information out of head.
gauge
Makes
what
sense.
you actually know.
Because brain get
What
better
if,
when
while
it do.
doing this,
Brain get better when it do thing. Both of these are things. Brain get better at doing it. And actually, this idea over here, right? This perfectly explains. Oh, thanks for the lurk, Decaf. So, this oh, by the way, hey, star. Check this out. If you have put down your what do you call it? Your preferred gender in like Twitch, my chat thingy can see it. And so Decaf Nvidia, it shows that they prefer they them. So that's a nice little thing. And also, it helps me not misgender people because I'm unfortunately, the flesh prison has very often decided had paired academia with anxiety and done exactly what you what you what you said you did with practicing and learning and doing something in academics and finding out and then freaking out. And yeah, that's so cool. There's an application actually, I'll type its name to you, but there's an application that allows you to do that. I won't know what that application is because I'm simply this machine that was literally born today and has no idea what this OBS setup is. I haven't made notes on it, therefore it doesn't exist in my memory. This all of this like streaming setup is just I have no idea who did it. So it's probably the voice in my head.
You can't
One moment. There you
remember
go.
the answers. Not to worry.
Thanks.
Making mistakes can actually improve learning in the long term.
So hey, okay, that's interesting. So remember how I mentioned that this actually makes the brain effective, efficient, stronger? Now, extraction has the benefit of, what's that term? Punishing slash scoring your efficiency, which is important. Actually, let me make this bold. What? Why is it not bold? Oh, whatever. So, as a benefit of scoring efficiency, which allows you to, which helps retrain the model on efficient encoding, efficient slash whatever the hell. Screw it. Better. Hey, look, I am master of creativity. See, I put that arrow up here, right? Below, like up next at the end of better. So it points towards these words. Master of efficiency. It's like a superscript. I don't know why these things bring me so much joy. But I do that in my own written notes too. I mean, the Flesh Prison has done that. It gave me these delusions to do that in my notes just now. I have no idea where it came from.
As you rack your brain for the answer, you activate relevant pieces of knowledge. Then, when the correct answer is later revealed, the brain can better integrate these flashcards to stuff focus on in a single session.
Let me speed this up. I'm getting bored.
Than practicing a single skill or topic at a time. One hypothesis of why this works is that similar to testing, cycling through different subjects forces your brain to temporarily forget, then...
Oh yeah, okay, hey. Why? So, interleaving, learning multiple things is good. Brain properly forgets when not doing thing. Then, so recall is harder. Better at recall faster. Let me actually add this to the next line thing. Oh shit. The next line thing. Haha. God damn it, number 2. There we go. Wonderful. Awesome. Nice. Okay, so interleaving allows our brain to forget things, and so that makes recall harder. So you get better at recalling things faster. Now, there's a fun thing about this. So when you're teaching multiple students, you actually get a flavor of this. So okay, so when you're following your own thinking pattern, right? You kind of have like an order of A to Z in your mind, right? Let me actually add this. Breaks usual thinking pattern on a topic. So You when you're doing things, right? And you have an encoding of A to Z in your brain for a certain topic. When you see a student approach a topic from a certain way, maybe it might be incorrect as hell, you can kind of see why they had some misunderstanding, right? And even knowing the why that they're misunderstanding something can help you find out why your approach protects you from that. Or even worse, that your approach actually fails to protect you from that, and you were lucky enough to pick up the right contextual clues to not fall into that hole. So you were just lucky to miss the landmine in a path that doesn't quite take you there.
Retrieve information, further strengthening the memory.
By the way, if the music gets too distracting, let me know. I picked music that kind of I'm able to study to, but that's not true for everyone. So I'd like to be as accessible as I can.
You may also find connections across the topics and better understand their differences. Now that you know how and what to study, our final technique concerns when. Spacing your review across multiple days allows for rest and sleep between sessions. While offline, the brain is actively at work, storing and integrating knowledge in the neocortex. So while cramming the night before the exam may seem logical, after all, won't the material be fresh in your mind? The information won't stick around for the long term. This brings us back to our medical residents. Both groups studied the surgery for the same amount of time, yet one group's training was crammed in a single day, while the other more successful group's training was spread over 4 weeks. The reason all three of these study techniques work is because they're designed with the brain in mind. They complement and reinforce the incredible way the brain works, sorting through and storing the abundance of information it's fed day after day. If you find it difficult to reach a state of flow while you're studying, maybe we can help. Watch this video to learn more about this unique mental state of effortless engagement, or get more actionable.
I mean, that was a whole nothing burger. Spacing it out is useful, so just forgetting stuff, which can also be accomplished with time. So yeah, that's nice. Let me actually see if this bit should be, yeah, it should be added up there. So I'm gonna make this point number 4. Get back. Okay. And yeah. Okay, let's see where were we and what's our next video. So let's see. We got done with this one. And now we find out what the Feynman technique is. There you go. Sorry, I was responding to some messages. Okay, there we go.
To Albert Einstein, and it goes, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well.
I agree. Hey, Star, have you ever heard of that technique called rubber ducking? There's a saying in comp sci that if you're trying to code something, right, you should try to explain it to a cute little rubber duck who has no idea about computer science. And if you're able to explain it properly to the cute little rubber duck, then you actually understand what you're doing in your code. And like some people use like there's this one
Now,
whatever people think about Pirate Software, I personally don't care about drama, but he has like a The Rock action figure, which is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Imagine having a freaking Dwayne The Rock Johnson staring at you as you're trying to explain your freaking code to him. That's hilarious to me. I actually have a rubber duck thingy, so let me actually see if I can damn, there's no way to do that. Okay, so I have this like frog that looks like, not frog, sorry, turtle that looks so freaking old. It's like a hand puppet, right? It's shriveled as all heck. It's the freaking, like, every time I look at it, I just think of it going like, back in my day, I didn't know what was going on, darn kids. so like I try to explain stuff to it, and it's honestly so fun. And I just imagine it like responding, darn kids, I don't understand all those computer science stuff. Back in my days, we used to use the freaking a tablet, a stone tablet. We didn't have none of this iPads and iPhones and iLife or iComputers or iMac. I don't care. Okay, yeah. So 5 minutes.
Who actually said this, let's be real, he probably wasn't. It's still
You know what? Screw this timer. It's stressing me out. I'm adding a new one. Haha. It has time till 5:30 now. Eat that timer. I'm the one in charge.
really insightful, and reversing it reveals a pretty powerful piece of study advice. If you want to understand something well, explain it. Now, this idea is something I touched on briefly back in my video summary of the Study Less, Study Smart lecture by Dr. Marty Lobdell, because in that lecture he talked about one of the most effective
Hey, that's actually
well, explain it. Now,
a
this idea is
good
something I touched on
source
briefly
he
back in my
pointed
video summary
towards. His video summary of Study Less, Study Smart. Where is his video summary? Where's the freaking hot link for this? Why is it not linked? I hate this guy. How dare you? It's so much stress. Why do you have to click on stuff? Oh, there it is. There, it's there. It's right there. Never mind. I don't hate this guy. Good job, guy. Okay, yeah. Okay. Let's hope that video doesn't start in the background and freak me out.
Dr. Marty Lobdell, because in that lecture he talked about one of the most effective Feynman technique. Now, this technique is named after the physicist practicing a couple of different times, and he contributed to science in a number of different ways, including the development of what are called Feynman diagrams.
Oh my god, there's so much yap.
Down incredibly complex concepts. He was famous for tirelessly working through equations until the concept he was wrangling with was technique, because explaining a concept works to if you're shaky on a concept, standing and challenge your assumptions. As Feynman himself said, concept in your head is to explain it to paper.
Yeah. So, okay. This video has gone 2 minutes 30, and so far, he's just said there's a guy named Feynman who made a technique, which is good.
And in the example I filmed here, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem because it is simple and to do it in a way that's easy to understand as if you were teaching someone else. And don't just settle with define or identify areas that you got. Also work through examples.
Okay.
Filmed here, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem.
Where was
it's
this step written?
of the Feynman technique. So let's get into it. It's a process of 4 steps, and the first step is to simply get out a piece of paper.
Right concept name. Okay. So, let's go back here. Actually, what time is it? It's 5. Have been yapping about okay, so over here I'm writing down my efficiency score, and honestly I'll give myself a 9 on 10 because I have been either attempting to entertain or been talking the entire time. So hell yeah, I haven't been slacking off. So have been yapping about I don't know, studying. Sure, I have to do this to keep myself. Oh, actually, let me no, I'll do that in a later scene. But I have a application as well which tracks what I've been looking at, and I'll be including it in future streams. So let's see. Yeah, Feynman technique. Let's get that. So 5 Feynman technique. So 1, right name of concept. We don't need paper. We're civilized human beings. We use
And in the example I filmed here, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem
text
because it is simple and it won't get in the way of the actual steps.
or mobile
Step 2
phone.
is to explain the concept and
Explain the concept using simple language. Explain using simple words.
do it in simple.
See, look. I'm Feynmaning 24/7. He's saying explain the concept using simple language. I say explain using simple word. Me
Or
understand.
French, or really whatever language you happen to speak. The idea here is to do it in a way that's easy to understand. As if
Blah
you
blah
teach
blah
someone
blah
else.
blah
And
blah
beyond
blah
that, your
blah.
explanation
Identify problem areas and go back to sources to review. Huh?
or identify areas that you got stuck on which halted your explanation and go back to the source
Iterate.
material or go back to your notes or work through examples until your understanding of these sub areas is just as solid. Take down those terms and areas. And finally, step 4 is to look at your explanation and try to
Make words of iteration easy. Iterate to explain better. We don't even need that. This first step is so air. It like doesn't matter. What the hell? So useless. Okay, anyways. Blah 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 blah.
Knowledge is solid, but efficient and helps you waste less
Show me the
time.
example.
I want to give you guys one extra push. Also think how it work, and that's going to help to challenge your assumptions. Rule for all right triangles. And yeah, maybe you do. Now, speaking of the Pythagorean theorem, maybe that was a bit too simple of an example for you, and you'd like to see which is a concept in probability theory and statistics, and one going over the CSS box model, which is related to web development and not related to math at all, that you can check out. So if you want to see those, you
Oh! I can't believe he's hitting me with the freaking content creator thing. Hi, here is 7 minutes to mention something I could have made at 2 sentences. This could have been an email, but I have decided to spend 10 minutes explaining it. Oh, this guy's such a chat to have just written them down here. I don't want to watch his videos. He's gonna give me brain rot. Let's hope that he's actually summarized this and not yap.
On YouTube looking for study
No, I don't
advice,
care.
then you've probably
2x
come
you.
across this video
Be gone.
called Study Less, Study Smart. Now, this is a
Be gone.
recorded lecture from
Limit
Professor
speed.
Dr. Marty Lobdell, who is a former psychology
speed. There we
professor
go.
at Pierce
2x.
College and wanted to give his thoughts on how to be an effective
Yep.
student. The video came out
Let me hear the guy.
First, let's get into the tips. So tip number 1 is to break your studying into chunked sessions.
Sessions.
Really taper off, and that's why the advice to simply study more is not effective.
Okay. So, where is that? Blah 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 blah. Okay. Grinding for greater than 25 minutes, allegedly. According to who again?
Simply.
Dr. Marty Lobdell. By Dr. Marty Lobdell. Is ineffective. We've been here for more than 25 minutes. Don't worry, it's not like we expect to remember everything that we've talked about today. Okay, so.
Study more is not effective at all.
Blah 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 blah.
Study for longer. When the professor presents a question to the entire, you're conditioned to do other things like sleep, play for you to get in.
Wait, what does he mean by study? What does studying mean in this case? So, does he just mean extraction? Or ingestion? Or both? Or average student? Or teacher? Study too vague. I don't want all of this to show here. Let me add a star over here actually. I don't want to eat up the whole screen because of one point. So blah 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 blah. Ah, there you go. Excuse me. There you go. Please don't do that. Oh my god, the formatting. Get out of my face. Stop coloring. Okay, there we go. Aha, there we go. Okay, whatever. Colors. Yes, now they're working the way I wanted to. Are you sure I can't put a star there? Without... Okay, nice. No scuff at all, guys. Don't worry. This is a scuffless stream, guys. I have no idea what you're talking about. There is no scuff.
Third tip is to study actively.
Scuff is not a thing we do here.
Lecture. The more active you are in your learning, the more effective you'll be. Now, the best way to do this, rather than going through rote memorization or reading and rereading chapters from your book, is to first ask yourself before studying, what is it that I'm learning? You have to understand it. And a fact is just something you remember.
Okay.
Now,
Recall.
concepts are more important than facts, because once you learn a concept, once you truly understand its inner workings, it's with you forever. Your class, you have to remember both facts and concepts, and you yourself and learn actively. And there's one thing he gives as an example at all, but if you highlight really important terms, and then you go back after your first read and highlight session and study them, and just simply recognize the thing you highlighted before and say, ooh, I know it, then you're getting into this dangerous territory.
Okay. So recall is important.
Is that recognition requires an initial trigger. Quiz yourself. You need to do active studying, but add some more to them so you can actually
you need to recall.
solidify the concepts in your good grasp on. The fifth tip is to summarize or teach what you learn, and he says the
Ooh, okay. Recall. So recall by... So let's see. Where did I mention recalling? Gosh dang it. Repeat info. It becomes stronger. Recall before study. Recall after study. Oh, don't worry about it. So, if I said it and you didn't respond, I probably ended up like saying it out to the air and then answering it myself. So don't worry, you're along for whatever part of the ride you're along for. So okay, what I said earlier, just to catch you up, is that some dude was like, studying for big times is ineffective, and then this guy spent 4 minutes telling me recalling is good. Recalling is good. recall before you study, recall after you study. Recalling is good. Yes, we understand recalling is good. It's
best way to actually learn. Really making sure that you fully understand the subject. If you're explaining to somebody who has absolutely no idea about the topic and they're coming at it from a beginner's perspective, then you're really going to have an easy time of pinpoint. And as I talked about in my active reading video, I think it's just to use your textbooks correctly. And in this part of the lecture, he goes over the SQ3R method, which stands for survey, question,
let's see.
read, recite, and review.
Perhaps it's something we have no idea of. Maybe he's saying recalling is good because it gives him extra money and isn't actually something he believes. Maybe he's part of a cult that says recalling is bad, but he has to be his fake self on the internet to try and to get his 3 million subscribers, 4.3 million views 10 years ago. Oh damn, 10 years ago. Anyways, he mentioned this SQ3R method just now, the recall cult. They hate recallers. Shadow Wizard Money Gang, we hate recalling. Get him! He's recalling! Whoop his butt! Yes, this is a family-friendly stream. We don't we don't cuss here. I definitely wasn't thinking something that is not age appropriate. So yes, darn recallers. We don't gotten to know recallers around here. Okay. Survey, question, read, recite, review. So surveying means recalling before you study. Question is part of surveying. Reading is studying. Reciting is recalling after you study, and reviewing is recalling after you study. So which can be either survey or questions. I won't even write question, dude. That's just survey. And the second thing, read, recite, review. So review. And okay, recite, review. So recite would be to actually I would put review first because oh shit. Okay. So review means what did I learn? What do I know? And recite detailed info on review as if teaching others. So yeah, it's nice to repeat info.
Can really prime your brain for meaning to, and as a result, a lot of mnemonics in the video. And those three are acronyms, things like Roy G. Biv for remembering the color spectrum, coin saying, just interacting. Hey guys.
Is there a block button? Is there a block button? Is there a block button? I don't ever want to see this content again. I don't want to run to it. Please, there exists a block button. No, there's no block button. Damn it, YouTube. Let me block his content. Oh well. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to live with the fact that he'll exist on my YouTube.
A lot of us want to learn new things and acquire great new skills, but
No. Whoa, report him. Peter the Chocolate Beast. Report him. Delete him. Whoa. Hey, you're the one who has the specific utensil required. Oh my god, execution. Throw him into the fire. Go. Shoot him. Death to the recallers. Oh yeah, Starlight, master of the anti-recalling cult. You know what I'm gonna do, Star? You know what I'm gonna do, Star? Star, get this. Where are you on Discord? I'm going to right-click your name, and I'm gonna go to edit note. I'm going to add this note that says death to the recallers. That's forever. You've been forever branded with that now. Every time I right click your name, I'm gonna see deaths to the recallers. Oh man.
often we lack the motivation to do so, which brings
Recall hater.
up a lot of good questions like, why am I so unmotivated to learn something?
Okay, his voice is slow, and therefore, I must do the me thing and speed him up.
In the long run.
Why would I think about it for years but then do nothing about it? And how would
I I naturally speak in 2x compared to these guys.
I even approach a grandiose topic like learning music, writing, or drawing? So therefore, chapter 1, procrastination, or why am I so lazy all
Why am I so lazy all the time? Okay. Before he gets into it, the voice in my head has banished me to drinking water. One moment. Oh, wonderful. I must consume hydration.
I do want to learn new things, but both you and I know I'm not actually going
You know, the old man voice is really good at one thing. My throat, it's so dry. Ah! I haven't had water in 17 years. Oh, that's actually inspired off of the old man SpongeBob. I love the young people.
do it.
Nice.
After I'll watch your video just in case. It's important to address procrastination first, because odds are you are going to learn something new right now, but you don't actually like the idea of
Okay, yeah, so procrastination, right? Okay. So, this is my personal opinion on the topic, right? But I feel like procrastination comes from a fear of failure. Or like, okay, so actually, okay, in a way, it's a lack of humility. Now hear me out. It's not a roast. It's not a roast. Okay, so we've, in the era of social media, when you look at someone with, say, this happens to some people's, but I'm just making this comparison so you understand where I'm coming from over here. So, I mean, I don't personally relate to that, but it's something that happens to a lot of people. When you post on Instagram, right, and you have like, say, 10,000 followers or whatever the hell, right, and you see somebody else who has 60,000 followers, the person who has 10,000, a lot of the times they're gonna see that and they're gonna be crushed by it. They're gonna go like, holy shit, I'm so pathetic. I have 10,000 followers, but they have 60,000. Why is theirs so much better than mine? Why is their number bigger than mine? Boo hoo, the world is unfair. Life is a tragedy. But you see, the thing with this, I suppose, life over here is that we end up creating versions of ourselves in our head that are not real. We imagine ourselves to be, say, I don't know, computer science extraordinaire, the best coder in the planet, for instance, right? But you might be 80th percentile coder, and maybe the best coder in your city or in your company, but that doesn't mean you're the best coder in the planet. And we don't quite see ourselves as 90th percentile necessarily, but even if you see yourself as 80 and you currently stand on 40 because you haven't done the thing yet, you'll be so afraid of that 80 that you'll be paralyzed. You're gonna think, holy shit, what if I make something and it's bad and I'm not able to catch up to that hypothetical version of myself who did it and did it right? Oh no, I'm going to make something that's not good. I fall into this, do I have a, let me pull out concepts for a second. Where is it? There you go. So, I fall within this bell curve. I am here in the bell curve and I want to be here, and anything I make will fall into this or this, and I don't want this. Wait, let me change color. I don't want this. I will hate myself if I make this, but if I make this, I will love myself because I will have made something that is good. But like, the reality of the matter is that them? They're one of them parabolas? No, this is just where you lie. This is This is a normal distribution graph, which just means that most people lie right here in the center. This is where people lie in their damn, but I thought I was smart. Wait, it might be a parabola. I actually don't know. Let me Google what's the shape called, because I was just thinking of what it is in terms of like what it represents, not what the shape itself is. I was born today. I don't have no idea what a parabola is. Oh, that literally is a parabola. Good job, you got it. Yeah, it's just a upside down parabola. Because a parabola is them curve. Hell yeah, good job. Yippee! Okay. Okay, but that's besides the point. The point here is this specific parabola is a normal distribution graph. Do you know what a normal distribution graph is? It's just a graph that says that like 30% of the people let me pull it out. Let me just get the definition. Distribution. Let me change the I won't even bother changing to the browser scene. So blah 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 blah. Show me the percentiles. Show me the percentages. Show it to me. Give me the percentages. Darn Wikipedia, load up faster. Okay, so where is it written? Where is it written? Oh, there we go. Okay, so give me back that. So 34% of people lie within this is 13.6%. This is 34%. This is 34. And this is 13.6. Right? And the normal distribution graph basically talks about how the 68% of people lie within this small chunk here. Right? And this is just how most things average out in the world in any topic. And what you are most likely a person who has experience with something. We don't know where in this 68% we are, right? But what we do know is that every person is variable. Good, this is educational. You should be getting some flashbacks of school, preferably nicer ones. So anyways, you realistically actually fall within some point over this teeny tiny portion. So you might be like this little line over here, which goes from I don't know, 62nd percentile to 66 on a good day. This is realistically something like you. Now, once again, this is not a roast. This is the type of people we compare against. This can be very good. And it could be the best I've ever seen my entire life. So, this is just to say that this is the kind of spread that would look like. And we punish ourselves so bad for this. But what we can do instead is just push our number up. Now, you'll never make this because you improved. And one of the best ways to improve is to just, if we refer to our notes, just doing the thing. And this, we do extraction, which is in this case, okay, this would be doing your art. This would be studying art. So the more you are able to study, do, and then, think about what you did, the better you'll get at it. Now, I already think your art's amazing, but if you were afraid of doing bad, then that's very human, and everyone will do bad because this thing's bad. For this person, this thing is bad. But ultimately, just making the thing will push your whole scale forwards. So just make the things. The procrastination just means you stay on the same spot for longer. The person who doesn't procrastinate, even if they make garbage, will end up moving forwards. And then actually let me add that to unfortunate realities of life. We get better by doing. Worrying about doing, not doing does not produce results. Now, there is also one thing that I learned from an art course that the voices in my head learned from an art course, which was that they have a rule which they like to call the 50-50 technique. So what they essentially say is that extraction and ingestion must exist in a balance. Either of them if doing either of them too much will freeze you in your current position. So if you don't, for example, share your art with others and try to understand what you did wrong and how you can improve it, or attempt to improve your own art without other people's guidance, an old piece of art, then you run the risk of not doing one of the two, extraction or ingestion. So autopsy old work when new skills acquired. I'll add this, and I'll also add this. Yeah. It's one of the ways that we learn about stuff is either from ground up or from top down. Both are actually very valid approaches. And ultimately the approach that makes us get better is the one that we're able to do. Relying on references too much can be harmful for the self, but that's only assuming you're going to be doing art regardless. It's harder, but more rewarding to do art without references and then grow from that. But if it makes you do art, then definitely a person should use references, allegedly, according to that same course. And ultimately, with something like art, whatever helps you develop love for it is probably the right approach, because art is so much more important than just what the output is. It's what you end up, it's the feeling of creating, I suppose. That's a big part of it. And well, yeah, to have that kind of connection with your work is very important for a human being, I feel. Speaking of, let me add another timer. Actually, let's leave the freaking timer. Okay, let's get back to our videos. Where are we? Browser scene. Excuse me. Wait. Oh yeah, this is right. This is why this was on. This was the normal distribution chart. Screw you. Okay.
Video just in case. It's important to address procrastination first, because odds are you are going to your mind. It's the same area in your brain that.
So, think big of yourself. Create ouchie. No, think big. Just understand where you are, who you are, and do. No, think of self big, small. Just do. Just make. Make nice. Make doesn't have to be nice. Just make. So, just do thing. It make brain happy. Not think bad. Not think good. Maybe think bad. Maybe think good. Just do. Try to improve, yes, but improvement not linear. Just do and hope that you do things properly as you could. And if you don't, that's okay. Just do it properly next time. Or autopsy what you did wrong. Just do thing. No stress. No pain. If not where you want to be today, maybe tomorrow. A balance of both. Where was I? Yeah, a balance of both ingestion and extraction can prevent ensure balance of them, to prevent stagnation.
Activates pain, and that goes off. So because of this,
I mean, yeah, this already has not doing thing means no results. And doing thing also includes like watching art videos, as long as that's not all you're doing, because then we run into only ingesting.
So the best solution to all of this is just start doing it. And that almost sounds too simple, but it's really like mood for it. It actually goes away. Once you've started doing something, because you're not reaching the peak, it's easy to get long-term.
Okay, his advice of just start doing it is kind of hard because it ignores the problem. We need to learn to face discomfort, which is unfortunate reality of discipline, which ties into education and learning.
Satisfaction.
So he's kind of right in that you have to face the discomfort at some point, but doing the specific thing you need to is not necessarily the only way to face discomfort. So let me add this here. Discipline. The ability of the brain to conquer discomfort. And okay. And if you want to conquer discomfort, can be trained on literally anything that produces numbing discomfort. Once trained, is good at letting you do what you want, even if you're afraid. Yeah.
So yeah, that was easy. Chapter 2, how to remember what you learned, because I would prefer not to go over a big neuron to another neuron through a synapse. Hi everybody. Whenever you are learning something new, your brain creates more synapses. So there really is no limit to how much you can learn. You actually remember it.
Oh yeah. There's a funny thing about feeling overwhelmed. A lot of people who start doing more things in their life, they end up getting less overwhelmed by the fewer things in life, which is a funny little situation. Just exposing yourself to doing things will often help you be able to cope with things. Now, I don't know about like later stages of overwhelm. I'm talking about the instance of like the college student who just had to start get their job and handle taxes and all that jazz, right? If you compare them to a parent has a lot more that they have to do, but they've gotten numb to the amount of things that they have to do because they created systems to deal with them, and now it's just stuff they got to do. It's no longer, oh shit, I have to do my taxes. Oh god, the world will end if I don't do my taxes.
Learning is repetition, and relearning the things that are kind of fading away in your head is important, because you need to strengthen these connections and really have a need for it. One way to approach this with something like drawing is not by tackling everything like anatomy, perspective, and color theory at the same time, because that's just too much. Instead, tackle your biggest flaw.
Yeah, like calling the doctor's office. Is there something you're not mentioning? You know, if inbuilt discipline is not available, store-bought works, by which I mean have somebody else call for you.
Now, that's how you establish a need for learning. And when you read a book for something like anatomy, don't just
I mean, it doesn't always work, but it works for important things like calling the doctor's office.
read from page 1 to the last. Use the pages that you actually have a need for right now, and go back to those pages again when you need to relearn it. But the number one priority that comes to remembering anything is actually sleep. Sleep is extremely important because
If I'm on speaker, Moon, send her to the doctor's office. Get her.
it plays a large part in processing your synapses. It creates more synapses and also cleans your synapses from metabolic toxins, so we don't get dirty and muddled. And maybe you kind of remember, or maybe that was about something else, and now you produce new neurons. Staying physically active and talking to people daily will help you study and learn better. And in contrast, staying shut in all day is a great way to develop severe depression. Chapter 3. Even with everyone's help, you still have to do everything on your own. While you could listen to music, watch TV, or YouTube videos while
Oh yeah. Hey, one of the things with humans is that they'll often try to numb themselves of the pain of doing something by listening to music in the background. But unfortunately, running from pain is a great way to extend that pain. So actually dealing with the pain by allowing yourself to feel it will make it end faster, and not, it can either be a pinch or it can be people bleeding out for a long period of time and just feeling miserable the entire time. Yeah, I have no idea why people do that. Hell no, nope, nope. There's something definitely not. I'm definitely not getting called out here. Nope.
And working on something that's not going to be 100% efficient, but maybe you want to sacrifice some of that efficiency so you can enjoy some music, some fun video stuff while also getting some work done. And here is basically the way that I would approach it, because there are two different modes of thinking. The focused mode, also called
Yeah. It's a skill issue. Yeah. Yeah. No idea why a person would do that. It's unheard of.
This mode pretty much requires that there are no distractions, so your memory is not efficient. But this might not always be the most fun thing to work with. So when you are a creative person, you tend to prefer the diffuse mode. Also,
The diffuse mode or creative mode.
And with this mode,
Right
your
hand
brain is
mode.
free to wander. You can put on some music, some
Blah,
videos,
blah,
and
blah,
there are
blah,
just
blah,
modes
blah.
that we can shift back and forth between. But no matter what you are learning or how you are doing it, you have to do it by yourself. You can't really watch a video of someone and you have to solve the problem yourself, being to it. If something feels so abstract that you can't even relate to it, part of reality. When it comes to drawing, I might think of an eye, and the eye actually sticks out a lot, but it's kind of hard to
I feel
imagine
like
that on your own. So I can say eyes are like
a lot of the stuff that this guy is saying is
and now we have a way of relating to just how the eye
just, I mean, it's his own personal experiences, but I don't know how applicable it is to many things.
leg, so that you can feel the gravity and the force and the weight as you draw it. And when it comes to which leg is the dominant leg, then allow me to go over and kick the model so they fall to the floor and start crying.
He's talking about how he learned more efficient encoding methods as he was learning.
The things that feel tougher is to get across the major idea and not get stuck in the details. Because as you get to learn these things that are more abstract or harder to learn, your synapses will...
Oh, and he's also mentioning not getting... Oh, analysis paralysis is a good one. So many times, analysis paralysis. Concepts are hard sometimes. Learning to understand, understanding the bigger picture or different encoding methods can help capture concepts better.
Start to connect easier with more...
Allow the pain. It is part of the process.
complicated things. Because now you have something that is actually relatable. It's important to not get too stuck in the details, because otherwise...
Because ultimately, like, a lot of people, they'll be doing math, for instance, right? They're gonna go like, damn, this topic's so hard. I hate advanced differential equations. But you just gotta do it. The more you allow yourself to do it, the more you'll do it. It's as simple as that. You don't need to get it in class. A lot of the math concepts we've grown up with, we just got it in class, applied it, and we got our marks, and we're like, yeah, this is so nice. While other people who maybe didn't understand it right away, they learned the discipline of actually forcing themselves to learn it the hard way. So when math gets harder and we learn things that we can't automatically solve in our head, we go like, oh shit, this sucks. And then the other people are like, yeah, well, other topics sucked for us before and we learned it, so you just gotta do that. Just allow yourself to learn it, allow yourself to suffer, allow yourself to be sad, because you gotta. It's unavoidable. We, as much as we'd like to think, we as human beings are not, like, we haven't reached the point where you can encode everything rapidly at like instantly. We have to encode it ourselves using what our life experience is. And if you don't ever experience it, you never learn to encode it. I saw this one thing. Actually, let me move to concepts for a second. So I saw this idea, right? And the idea was, so there's an artist, right? She was like, let me see, can I paste a picture of some dude? Sure, I'll just put this in. Actually, I'll get a real human being's face. Sure, I'll pick her face up from a screenshot. Okay, say I have this, right, random lady. And an artist is like, hey, draw this face. And I'm like, okay. What me and Ooga Booga Clown would do is go like, haha, I make oval, then here, haha, I am artiste. But what an artist would do is they would be able to use their eyes correctly to be able to tell that the granularity of her face would be something. Can I buy that? Yeah. Comms open today. And it's an artist would be able to kind of look at this, find out that like the head is like this way, find out that this shape is yippee, find out that her face is like this shape, right? They'd be able to identify her face in its shapes and like to be able to like do this and eventually have like a structure that they can then build around, right? Is a skill that the artist has from their experience and from their type of observation, right? And so this looks nothing like that. And that's what an artist is able to do with their eyes because of how much experience they have. But this is what me, a monkey, would do. Or a robot who was literally born today. So, this is kind of what I'm talking about how we learn to encode information in different ways. We learn to encode information in different ways, and until I learn how to do this, right? If, for example, I ran into a situation where a person like, you know, just ran past me and the freaking guard was like, what did they look like? If I tried drawing, I'm gonna end up making this because I simply do not observe at this level. And sometimes that's what like life, that's one of the things about learning. Now this, you can understand it in art, right? Now just imagine this but in math. That's the reality for a lot of students in math, that they haven't learned to encode properly yet. So reality of art. So, and then the reality of math. We see like freaking wait, I got this. Binomial theorem. I'm gonna post this picture. Oh, please let me copy paste this thing. Okay, nice. So I'm gonna paste this, and then where is it? There you go. Ah, so big. Okay, nice, paste. You see something like this, and you just go reality in pre-calc when you're in high school. You see this and you just go, it's actually easy, but looking at it is terrifying because you see symbol above the thing. Oh my god, symbol in brackets up and down, symbol over here, symbol plus, there's a dot. What numbers exist here? What is this happening? Oh my god, my life. That's what happens to people when they're looking at new math. But it's actually the same as this. You just have to learn to see, learn to actually observe, which is not, it's easier said than done. It's not like, it's not free. It is what it is. You have to learn it. And both of these are the same. They just don't feel the same because you've gotten more experience in one than the other. You can bring out an ickier theorem and then it'll hurt your brain. It'll hurt one's brain even more. Of course, like, you know, but like any person looking at it is just gonna go like, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on? And it's not that, okay, a lot of people like to remember how I mentioned poor self-assessment? Let me pull it. Holy shit, I just realized something. I have space for my notes in that screen as well. So I can actually do this. Haha. Wonderful. Okay, so where was I? Yeah. So a lot of people, as per the notes, end up convincing themselves that where is it? Oh yeah, there it is. It's all the way up. Okay. So most people have poor self-assessment. Having poor self-assessment will lead to one thing with this. People are gonna look at this and they're gonna go like, man, you know what? Me and math, they don't get along. I'm not a mathy person. I'm an arty person. You clearly only have to be one or the other. There's some kind of divide that exists that can't just naturally be breached by allowing yourself to suffer through something. I am doomed to be one or the other. This is a reality of life. It is not the reality of life. It is a coping message. Like, it's a coping thing that people say to themselves to feel better about sucking. But you gotta suck. That's just it. Everyone has to suck at something or the other. Yeah, coping mechanism. That's the word. Thanks. You should. Oh, yeah. Everybody sucks at something, and it just is that way. It's okay. It's okay to suck at stuff, but you gotta, like, everybody has to eventually just like accept that they just have to do the thing if they want to get good at it. No, I refuse. I want to see myself as only an art person. I can't do math. I'm a Virgo, and Virgos don't do math. There's never been a Virgo mathematician. I am Virgo. I am Virgo. I do art. Not Virgo, not art. Okay, back to studying. Okay, where are we? Browser. Browser. Are you good? Browser. Browser. Oh, hi, Cider. Hello. Yes. Nice. Okay, one moment. My poor browser has malfunctioned. Browser. Okay, wait. Secret technique. Aha. Okay, I found out how to fix it. So it's weird. If I change its capture method to BitBit and then back to Windows 10, then the browser resurrects itself through some dark magic. Secret technique gone. Yeah, exactly. See, Cider is a professional master PhD psychologist. Yes, it works. Psych is a branch of math. Yes. And so, yeah, by actually doing the thing, you get good. It just is exactly that way. So yeah, okay. Here's Barbara Oakley's video, and it should tell us about
10th grade.
Like, oh, and something cool about her. Yeah. Science is just all applied maths in it.
At 10th grade, I'd lived in 10 different.
See, if our brains are just math, right? It's imagine this. Okay, hear me out. Our brains are neurons. Every individual neuron is just a simple counter. You use it, it go up one number. All we have to do is make counter number big by doing thing. The bigger numbers are represented more in your brain, and those numbers will randomly go off when you're not doing anything, as like just your brain doing AFK growth. Like, and so you see, your brain is just applied math in it. you make number big, brain big.
Places. Math is extraordinarily sequential.
Oh, she's so
And
quiet.
by the time I'd hit 3rd grade, I'd fallen off the math bandwagon. Basically, I flunked
my God,
way
she's speaking in
through
slow motion.
elementary, middle, and high school math and science. So it's a little strange looking back.
By the way, I love her books. Or the Flesh Prison in charge loves her books. I'm getting signals from them, and
Because today, I'm a professor of engineering. and I'm
there's some
passionate about
excitement
the job.
regarding actually
One day,
getting
one
to
of my students
those.
found out about my past, and he asked me, "How did you do it? How did you change your religion, culture?" And that's all I wanted to learn when I grew up. But I didn't have the money to go to college, so I enlisted in the army right out of high school.
Holy crap!
to learn a language. And you can see me there looking
To learn a language? That's wild.
very
Imagine having to learn language
throw a grenade.
through the army,
And,
about to throw a grenade.
And I did learn language. I learned Russian, and I ended up working out on Soviet trawlers up on the Bering Sea in Antarctica at the South Pole to meet that man. But I began to realize something, though. I was doing all these advanced when I worked with in the military.
Granada!
I worked with all these West Point engineers, and
Oh, hey. This is exactly what I talked about. You see this picture, and if you're not off the math, this will terrify you. Oh, what is this freaking the symbol which shows the freaking pillar thing? I forgot what it's called. Gamma or something.
they had these calculus and physics books, and it looked like hieroglyphics to me. But I thought, what if I could get those ideas? What if I could learn that language? I mean, the world's evolving. Language and culture are important.
It's actually really funny how simple they are, because just one's just a for loop of adding and one's just a for loop of multiplying.
But math and science and technology are important too. What if I could learn these new ideas?
But like mathematicians are like, hey, let's not make it something that's intuitive. Let's use these ugly symbols so that people have to learn what these symbols mean rather than just being able to tell using simple basic language. Haha.
To the ideas I already knew and loved. So when I got out of the military at age 26, I decided to try and change my brain.
Damn, she started at the age of 26. Listen, it's not too late for any of us. I mean, obviously it's not. I mean, any person can learn at any time. People who say that they're too old to learn now are deluding themselves because they want to delude themselves. But damn, 26.
It wasn't easy. But if I knew then what I know now about how to learn, I could have learned much more easily and much more effectively. So several years ago, as I began trying to answer that student's question, how did I change my brain? I began reaching out to top professors from around the world.
Hey, remember the heuristics I dropped here? Where'd my heuristics go? Heuristic? Aha. There we go. So, she reached out to multiple professors. Aha, higher quality data.
People who not only had knowledge of their difficult areas of expertise, but also who could teach effectively. And I asked,
And she also notices the thing where people have a lot of knowledge of their area of expertise, but they also can teach well, because one doesn't necessarily imply the
I
other.
said, how did you learn? And how do you teach so others could learn? And what I found was the way they learned and the way they taught was often similar to the way I learned and I taught. It was almost like this kind of shared fraternal handshake. But we often didn't know why we did what we did. So I began researching neuroscience and cognitive psychology and reaching out to talk to top experts in those fields. And here is what I found: the keys to learning effectively.
Okay, let's see.
Now, as we know, the brain is enormously complex, but we can simplify its operation into two
The
fundamentally
keys
different
of
modes.
learning.
The first is what I'll call the focus mode. And the focus mode is just like it sounds like. You turn your attention to something and boom, it's on. But the second mode is a little different. It's a relaxed set of neural states that I'll call
Okay,
the
yeah.
diffuse mode. It's a number of
She's
rested
talking
states.
about how you end up like having downtime is important for learning.
And so it seems that when you're learning, you're going back and forth between analogy. And you all know how pinballs work. What we're going to do is we're going to take this pinball and we're going to put it right on your brain, right? So when you're learning, you're often thinking tightly as your focus table. So you think a thought.
Yeah,
the
allowing yourself to forget things is important for
thought
learning.
you're thinking pattern towards the bottom of the pinball machine metaphor. To get to this new place, I mean, at least sort of metaphor, a new perspective. The thought, it takes off and it can range its mode, but you can at least get.
I like the way
when
she's
you're
explaining this.
learning, you want to go back and forth between these modes. And if you find yourself at 10, how can we actually use these ideas in real life? If you look at this guy right here, he was Salvador Dali, one of the most brilliant surrealist painters of the 20th century.
Salvador Dali has the most recognizable mustache in all of mustaches.
Dali was the
And imagine the one picture of yours that people find online is just you vibing with your cat. Just look at this cat, looks so comfortable in this picture.
very definition of a wild and crazy guy. You can see him there. He's got his pet ocelot, Babu. And
This
what
cat is
Dali used to do
vibing.
when he was kind of
Wait,
stuck
what
in
was
his
this cat's
definition
name?
Of a wild and crazy guy. You can see him there. He's got his pet ocelot,
Ocelot Babu.
Babu. And what Dali used to do when he was kind of stuck as he was solving some problem related to his painting was he'd sit
Oh, I
there
love
and
that.
he'd relax in a chair and he'd have keys in his hands. And he'd hold those keys and he'd pick him up. And off he'd go. He'd take those ideas from the diffuse mode over to the focus.
Oh yeah, he wanted to try and get himself to be like, channel his creativity, and the way he'd do that was almost falling asleep and with keys in his hand, so that the moment he'd fall asleep, the keys would drop and he'd wake up from the keys, and
with him
then
and
he'd be
use
able
them
to
for his painting.
just like,
So
use
well,
those
that's great. It's
sleepy,
different
hazy
artists,
ideas.
But I'm an engineer, so how can I use these ideas? Well, if you see this guy right here, he was Thomas Edison, one of the most brilliant and he'd relax away, kind of thinking about a problem loosely that he was trying to solve related to his inventions, relaxing, and then just as he'd fall asleep, the ball bearings would fall from his hands. So the bottom line for all of us out of this.
So basically what this is suggesting is that being more in tune with your creativity can actually help you understand whatever problem you have, which actually falls into that same thing, interleaving of ideas. So if you allow yourself to break from your extreme focus on something, it's that thing, right? You need to allow yourself to forget the thing if you want to get good at the thing. Not forget entirely, obviously, the brain doesn't work that way, but this is what plays into it.
Sitting down to solve a new problem or analyze a new was for famous people like Dali and Edison, and you want to use some of it to procrastinate. I mean, this back and forth stuff is great, but I don't have time. I cram at the last minute, and that's just me. So let's talk just a little bit about procrastination. What seems to happen when you procrastinate is this. You look at something you'd really rather not do, and you actually feel a physical pain in the part of your brain that analyzes pain.
True.
So there's two ways that you can handle this. The first way is you can just kind of keep working away.
That's the thing that the guy from that video said, just like do the thing
and
that's
just
causing you
within a few
pain.
minutes, it actually will
And he's right, within a few minutes it actually will disappear. But to do that thing, when people try to tell themselves to just do the thing that's uncomfortable, they end up not, because of that same fear.
disappear. But the second way is you just turn your attention away, and guess what? You feel better right away.
Yippee!
So you do this once, you do this twice. It's just not that.
When you we make mountains out of molehills a lot.
do this very
We
often.
feel terrified to do things that like
And it's
are actually
like
not
an addiction.
the worst to
It
do.
can really cause problems in how you lead your life. So how can you handle it? A very simple way, using the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro
Oh, all right. Catch you later, Star. Bye bye.
technique, as it turns out, all you need to do is you get a timer. Any timer will do. And then you just take it and set it for 25 minutes and make sure everything else is turned off. So no instant messages, nothing like that. And you work with focused attention for 25 minutes. Anybody can do 25 minutes virtually.
So
And
25
when you're
minutes
done, you
of
do something fun.
focus
Just a little bit, a few minutes
with
of
fun.
relaxed
Right, yeah, that's the
What this
Pomodoro
seems to do
technique.
is this. You are enhancing, you're practicing in some sense that relaxation is
And the Pomodoro techniques, honestly, actually, let me note that down. Part of the reason that the Pomodoro technique ends up being so effective, let me see where that is. The Pomodoro technique can allow a person to disconnect the idea of pain with the idea of learning, which is actually really big, because a lot of ideas, when they're encoded next to each other, we often find like we fear that encoding. We fear that mixed idea of math and pain, so we end up fearing math when we're actually fearing pain. So if we can decouple that pain with math, then we essentially end up being no longer controlled by fear when we're approaching math.
also an important part of the
But
learning process. There's
it
things
takes,
going on in the background.
um,
The only thing is this.
it takes
When
time.
you do the Pomodoro, you want to make sure that that you don't sit there and say, I'm going to do my entire homework.
Also, I
that
just
minute."
realized I could have had it on theater mode the entire time.
No, you just sit and say, I'm going to work with focused attention for 25 minutes. And that's the key. Now, students sometimes make the mistake of thinking that some of their absolute best traits are their worst traits. So what do I mean by this? Let's take the idea of memory. Let's say that you have a poor working memory.
Poor
You can't
working
seem to
memory?
hold things
Actually,
in
you know what? In that way, that's actually very useful. If you have poor working memory, that allows you to experience the same thing with different perspectives each time, because you're able to reset your brain on a certain topic. Huh, I never saw it that way. A poor working memory. So where was this? This is an interleaving. Okay. A poor working memory actually allows a person to approach the same topic in different ways. Wait, so that essentially implies that a person who's creative might wait, this I should note this down. So implication that a creative person would necessarily have poorer working memory, because, or at least they would have a better, I suppose, route. So they would have it would be easier for them to be creative. That means poor working memory, actually the implication would be that poor working memory gives higher aptitude for creativity. That's what the implication in this is. That's quite an interesting take.
Very well. You watch
So,
these other students and they're able to grasp all these ideas and kind of manipulate them, but you can't. Well, what this means is,
Yeah, that she's
the
literally
idea
going with that
is
implication as well.
because you can't hold these ideas
So,
in mind so tightly.
That
other
makes
ideas are often
sense
creeping in.
if
you have problems with
learning is based
machine
off
learning
of
diverting off into
this act of encoding and
some
decoding.
other idea, it's similar. You are often more creative because students can say, I'm really think of yourself.
And that's funny. So it doesn't matter if you take smaller steps or bigger steps. Smaller steps gives you more exercise in your steps, and thus more exercise in your steps makes you learn how to take better steps. And being able to take better steps faster means you're gonna go farther compared to someone who takes
As a hiker.
longer steps
Yes, a
but
race car driver
doesn't
gets
step
there
as much.
faster than you ever can. But a hiker has a completely different experience. A hiker
And
can smell
nice.
and more profound. But the trade-offs, in many cases,
And
are
so
well worth it.
one
You
should
get
never-
silence of what you're studying.
I mean,
So
unless they
there is
have
something
some
called illusions.
mentally crippling, something that genuinely hurts their cognitive ability, they should never shoot themselves down entirely, because there's a no matter what you're struggling with, you'll have some like a trade-off occurring rather than a pure up or down in the normal distribution chart. It's about how well you're able to use those
But in
trade-offs.
many cases, surprisingly many, it arises because you've just come face to face with the scary
Yeah, this is algebra. Algebra's scary
access
bear.
of theological pathways that allow this to occur. Tests are they in different places.
Tests are so frustrating, but then once you're able to, like, the whole thing with tests is they're so important because you can't ever know whether you remember something until you have it put to the test. When you hear a song once ever in your car, right? When you actually try to sing that song in your head, you might not remember all the lyrics. You're gonna end up probably doing like humming half the words or 80% of the words, because you remember the tune, but you don't remember the song. It's only after actually trying to sing it you fully realize like these notes are off, or this the certain words are treated some way and some ups and downs happen on certain parts of the word. At most you might remember the chorus.
There's something about the motion of the pen on the page that makes you think,
and that's actually so important to look at as a comparison here.
Is simply spinning your wheels. The most effective technique is simply to look at a page, look away, and see what you can recall. And doing this, as it seems, helps.
Yeah, it's the same thing over here. If you are able to allow yourself to recall, or even while you're studying, recall while studying, you allow yourself to actually see whether you've encoded the information while it's fresh or when you're studying it. So it just becomes min-maxing that encode decode loop.
Enhance your understanding, build mastery of the material, circumstances, learning how to, and your life will be in.
I'll be going through her book as well at some point, but this is really important to keep in mind, where like people don't need to beat themselves up as much as they do. It's just you do the thing, then you get good at the
I've
thing.
been obsessed with figuring out the fastest and easiest.
That's actually something you're going to notice a lot in, allegedly, according to the Flesh Prison, you're going to notice a lot of that in competitive games, for instance, where they're going to be beating, like they're going to try to, for example, play a game, right? And thing with the game is you have a very obvious like gameplay loop, for instance, right? So let me move us to our, what is that called? Concepts. So over here, you're going to have a game. A game lasts 1 hour. Now, in this game, you either win or you lose. There's one of those two options. Now, most people, they're gonna go like, damn, I have no idea what metrics allow us to get here, or like, or here, or they're going to have some idea of it, and then they're going to think that those ideas matter way more than they do, right? They're gonna go like, if only I had better teammates, right? Or they're gonna think, oh no, if I had, say, if I had had breakfast in the morning, I would have won this game. Or if the stars were aligned. Man, it's all of these things are delusions we feed ourselves when we can show this game. Like, literally, this is an option for everyone. We can show this to a person who has more knowledge and then ask them what they would have done differently. There's no way, unless that person's a self-deluder as well, there's no way to like actually not learn something from this. So we exist in a state where we just need to kind of allow ourselves to assess and challenge the topic to actually learn. Anyways, let's get to this video. Okay, I need to 2x this because he is speaking at a regular pace and my brain is not moving at a regular pace. Okay. Theory overload. Yeah, I guess that's one of the things that happens to people who genuinely want to learn something but are stuck in the procrastination state. So, memory, understanding, and exam results are related to that's actually the exact same example I was just talking about, where if you don't use feedback, if you don't have any type of autopsy off of your test results, then you are doomed to simply keep firing arrows at nothing. Let me actually make that comparison. So this is important. So let me put this here, encode and decode, and I'm going to, so if you try to encode and decode, well, this is actually that exact example. Like, if you keep firing arrows, if you having no decoding at all, will lead you to just, what was decoding again? I forgot. Distraction, right? If you keep decoding and you never encode, then you'll just keep getting that same result over and over in a test, or maybe you'll get slightly better, but you have to study as well. You can't just keep giving the exam over and over without ever stopping. And that's one thing people need to learn. Firing an arrow randomly without ever changing what you're doing, or firing or playing a game over and over without ever changing what you're doing, is going to lead you to that person who has 3,000 games played and 50% win rate. They've equalized entirely because they're repeating the same pattern over and over. It's actually such a tragedy that in lower academia, we're not taught that the purpose of these exams is to teach yourself how to learn. We just see the exams for what they are. They're not abstracted in a meaningful way, which I feel like we should really change. Let me actually add something on that. So it's a tragedy that childhood learning is not abstracted to focus more on the ability to learn or retain than the output of their learning. So, wait, sorry. Did I miss what he said? Learn more slowly. I don't understand. What is theory overload? Brain has a limited amount of cognitive resources. Oh, okay, I see. When we try to cram everything rather than having rest periods between our learning, it can cause us to not actually remember anything. And so it's actually aligning with that thing that was said earlier by that one dude, the Dr. Marty Lobdell, where actually allowing oneself to have those rest periods between periods of learning are very important to actually learn. Too many things to think about. Multiple element interactivity. Wait a second, what? Too many things to think about in the research. What is multiple element interactivity? Element interactivity. I don't understand what he's suggesting here. What is this? I'll just click on the second link, whatever. So, teacher loves concepts, nuts and bolts of introduction, blah blah blah. Instruction, I mean. Alarming, teaching over a decade, blah blah blah. Element is anything to be learned or processed. Interacting elements are things that must be processed simultaneously. To understand them, there's some elements of this. So, sensory memory. Okay, so long-term memory is limitless. Working memory has limitations. Oh, okay, I see. So if we overload the working memory, then we have less things going to long-term memory, allegedly. So, oh, wait, I think I can kind of picture this. So sometimes we'll have ideas that we're forced to learn that actually have enough components they're attached to that we won't be able to transfer to long-term memory, which is why actually forcing ourselves to interact with that same big chunk will actually allow us to eventually encode them in our long-term memory. So it actually makes logical sense why it would be learned the way that it would be, while it also being true that the concept of being able to actually, of there being limited resources is also true, which would mean that to stay within our limited resources or to not push yourself does not make sense. I'm gonna need to see more about this video. Hydration. Or so I've heard from the flesh prison. Yeah. Okay, so cognitive load theory. While there's a universal agreement that working memory when dealing with novel information is very limited, exact limits have been up to some discussion because these limits change slightly depending on testing conditions. Miller suggested that it was about 7 items, but more recently, Coven suggested 4 items was a more representative figure. Instructional perspective, the exact figure is probably irrelevant because the important point is that working memory is severely limited in its ability to store information. Instructions should take into account that the fact that working memory is limited, the blah blah blah, if the learning environment is overrun by needless distractions. Oh, distractions can reduce working memory even more because we'll remember the distractions. That's interesting. Maybe, okay, hey, okay, hear me out. Maybe the idea that the Gen Zers, they look at Subway Surfers or Minecraft jumping around on the side, like what do you call that? Whatever it's called, the little Minecraft jumping thing that they have. Maybe the purpose of this Minecraft jumping and Subway Surfers is to prevent themselves from falling for other distractions that they'll actually remember. And so it's used as a distraction dipping pool, like a palette cleanser. So maybe what they're doing is actually more efficient than pure focus. Maybe they've figured out how to parse data, and maybe their attention spans aren't bad. Their attention spans are efficient. Maybe Subway Surfers and Minecraft parkour on the side is actually the hack through needless distractions and limited working memory. Maybe it's a compensation tool. Holy shit. So lol, maybe Minecraft parkour and Subway Surfers is the hack to bypass Coven 2001's claim of low working memory being impacted by distractions. Controlled distractions greater than uncontrolled distractions, and that leads to high working memory retained. Oh my god, that's so cringe. Okay, so element interactivity. Material to be learned can have high or low amounts, blah blah blah. It relates to how reliant one element is on others for comprehension. Learning that cone cells are necessary for vision is low level. Yeah, because it doesn't matter what type of cell it is, right? Because it's just a thing. It looks like a cone. It's a cell. That's it. It doesn't matter. Learning that, according to blah blah blah, that young Helmholtz. Okay, that's one concept on its own. Trichromatic theory of color vision. Cones are sensitive to either red, blue, or green wavelengths of light. Okay, I see it. The interactivity over here is high. How transduction occurs in the retina, and this information is passed to bipolar cells and then to the ganglion cells, whose axons form the optic nerve and send the millions of bits of information to the thalamus. Oh, he didn't finish the thing. But yeah, I see it. So the more things interact, the more overwhelming it is. And so, the more concepts interact, which in this case is called element interactivity. Element interactivity. Let me put them in these. So the more concepts interact, aka element interactivity. AKA element interactivity. Words, damn it. Okay. The more concepts interact, the more we get overwhelmed by it, I guess. This means the less we retain, and the more overwhelmed we get by it. And that's quite interesting. So, wait a moment, I just thought of something. How much of this is self-inflicted? Let me actually add that. How much is self-inflicted? Now, from my experience, a lot of human beings will often see something, right, that they don't have information on, and they're gonna go like, holy shit, it's gonna be so complicated, what could it possibly be? And then their brain gets numbed. But the reason that happens is because they picture a lot of disconnected elements to this, and they start creating these unrealities of these disconnected elements somehow playing in there. They try writing stories. It becomes a whole oh my god, this thing is a dragon that will slay us. It has fire. Fire hurts. Fire is hot. Like all of that's distractions that people feed themselves. Now, in a more practical sense, that would be, oh no, what if there's something like this math, it works this way, and then something else gets multiplied. Like, not being able to tell what the next step in a mathematical formula is to not understand the idea behind the formula, which makes sense because learning math, most of the time we've never had to think about why. That's actually why a lot of higher education mathematicians, they really care about proofs. They care about proving why a certain formula does something. It's because the story behind math is important. It's not just to force you to write the proof. It's to make you actually appreciate the understanding of math and to understand how and why you're doing something. And another thing that's a tragedy, that is the how or why of how anything works is incredibly important to challenge distractions within element interactivity. It's my own hypothesis, but I'm going to write it down anyways because I feel that it's worth at least discussing. So, clear lecture presentation, like the process of vision, moving on. Not saying creativity is important, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like if you want to put the picture of fear, right? You can put a bear on. That's just a metaphor. That's not a distraction. So, metaphors. Let me actually add that as a point here. Metaphors can lessen overwhelm that leads, which in turn reduces self-distraction. Because a lot of times we're going to notice, right? We're watching a presentation on some new tech. We're going to go like, oh my god, my brain, I can't understand this tech. It's too tech for me. But then the moment somebody uses some haha funny meme pictures, you go like, huh, this actually isn't that scary. It makes sense. And the purpose that those haha funny meme pictures are actually accomplishing is finding out how those metaphors are lessening the feeling. I mean, it's just reducing overwhelm. They're reducing overwhelm, which prevents you from starting to get lost in your own head. And that's important for learning. So if you're going to be learning, maybe you can do that for yourself. Maybe that's important. So I'm gonna actually note that down. Important. Perhaps there's a way to apply metaphor to reduce the pain in self-learning. And actually, from my own, allegedly from the Flesh Prisons experiments, when learning coding, for instance, right, creating projects that do haha funny things rather than being actually like valuable in terms of money is a great way to learn about different tools. And this is why haha funny is important, because it reduces self-distraction. Because to be focused on making something funny or something that you like will help you approach a new topic with focus, it's cool how that works. But yeah, to see how big a role multiple element interactivity plays here is cool, and it's interesting to see this guy bring it up. What is active learning? I've seen him say this twice. What is active learning versus passive learning? Is it the same as like doing math versus like learning something that you can read? What is it? Passive learning is lecture, reading, audiovisual demonstrations, and active learning is discussions, practice doing, and teaching others. I have no idea. Also, I need to fix this because for some reason my dark forcer is not doing that. Wait, was it Control Shift D? No, Control Alt D. God damn it. Let me deal with that. Dark Reader. Fix this. Okay. Nice. Big on side. Okay. Interactive methods used to contribute passive. While in passive learning, you have to wait for the direction, instruction, or information from the instructor to be given to you. Active learning, you look for different methods to increase your involvement. Learning is a continuous process in which essential changes in the learner's behavior are brought due to experiences. A universal process, changes in behavior due to learning, purposive and goal-directed. I had no idea that purposive was a word. What the heck? That's a word? No way that's a word. Purpose. Oh my god, I can't believe that's a word. Purposive is just a... Oh my god. It's just the synonym to purposeful, but it exists. Why does it exist? It's irrelevant. Okay, anyways. Transfer from one situation to another brings intended change in behavior, and there's active involvement of students, and like this doesn't really tell me anything. All this is saying is that we have to make students interact more rather than being broadcasted to, which is very obvious, I suppose. Like it doesn't make sense why that's being brought up. Oh well. All that means is when we're learning a new skill, we should be trying to I don't understand. So he's saying don't try to learn many things in one topic. Balance your new theory. Oh, okay, this one's really important. So like any targeted. So when practicing extraction, relevance to recent ingestion produces leads to effective practice. So is he claiming that this person he's talking about was performing too much ingestion and too little extraction? Is that what this guy was suggesting? Or was he suggesting that he is spending too many hours in? Is he saying that learning smaller parts of the topic will help you capture the topic more? Or is he saying that more recent relevant practice is going to make you absorb the topic more? Okay, yeah, that's the 50-50 rule. So 50% rule. Balance of both. So I'm going to move this up here, and actually both of these are suggesting balance. So let me do this. Only studying without practice leads to self-delusion of skill. And yeah, that's it. And only practice leads to only practice without studying, as in from a video game, leads to self-delusion of not skill per se. This one's going to be more about of, I suppose, the activity, because you don't know what of the practice, let's say. Because if I will often lead to, I suppose there's some people will often lead to, because there's going to be some people who actually approach, for example, a video game with a scientific approach to see like, okay, I tried this doesn't work, right? That's a more scientific approach. But there's going to be a lot of people who approach the same thing and then just go like, why isn't this working? I hate this. I am tying my self-worth to this because, oh my god, this is bad. I don't, boo hoo hoo. But that's just life. Wait, so... Oh, okay, yeah. He's just saying make sure that the amount of theory you have is matching the amount of practice you have. So try not to overload yourself with theory when you don't have time to practice. And that makes sense. If a person is studying like art fundamentals, shading, or whatnot, and hasn't even drawn a single thing about shading before they look at like color theory, then they're going to be very confused. And that's actually really good. Like this guy really, like, you know, he showed up. He talked about stuff. And let's see. Is all of his 58 minute video. Let's see. I think this should be the last video in our session. So actually, one thing worth looking into is that, one thing worth talking about is that, ultimately, if we want to learn and we want to try and improve, we need to have some kind of, first of all, we need to follow these heuristics, which means we need good quality data. We need something that, and so we need to just follow whatever heuristics because we don't have a good way to know. And so literally the best heuristics we can find is either a lot of people connecting with it or proven results, because generally if someone's going to connect with it, it's going to mean that this was something that perhaps was more like, it has more things that align. And proven results, and our current experiment of these learning teachers has, it's been 66% success rate. One of the videos was fairly useless, but it's proven, it served as a good proof for our current heuristics. Not proof per se, but a good example for our heuristics working once or twice. So we'll be trying these same heuristics again the next time we have any video to watch. But so far, all that we know, let me see if I can summarize this. So 0 summary. We're gonna perform a recall. Oh my god, this entire time it's been pointing towards the demonstrate plan scene. Oh, that's so tragic. Oh my god. Okay, so anyways, that's a shame, but you know, it should be fine. The summary will be kind of about what's, what happened. We need to think of how the brain functions. So what we know about the brain is that it encodes information and it decodes information. So take stuff in, like studying into memory juice, and decodes information. Memory juice into, not memory juice, let's see. synapses, and this is synapses into output, and produces, sorry, let's see, in learning things ends up, does decoding produce memory juice? Yes. No, does memory juice enriched by memory juice, and this is produces memory juice. Having some format, some balance between these two helps us actually have useful learning, because you don't have any juice, you're not gonna have enriched ideas, so you're not gonna do anything, like you're not gonna accomplish anything off of the stuff you've learned. And thus 50% rule helps optimize both. Enrich, like, thus do both at equal amounts, and let's see, repeating info, right, to while studying, performing like performing decodes or recall before, during, and after an idea can help remember the idea. Before studying, performing decodes or recall actually, I don't even need to say that, literally before, during, and after. Yeah. So let's see, that's all what this recall stuff is. Oh, and allowing yourself to forget is a great way to challenge the same idea again and put it into deeper memory. And so rest is important. But it also means that people who are creative, low working memory actually improves creative aptitude. Utilize your strengths. And let's see, what else do we have? Oh yeah, the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique is great at decoupling pain from learning. Ooh. For acts of iteration, like I suppose creative works mostly, I guess. Performing an autopsy of older works after learning new skills is effective. Is great at what would it be good at? I guess it'd be good at providing new perspective. But would that really be useful for you since you've already learned the skill? Not sure. Let's see. Oh yeah, and interleaving. Interleaving is an important way to I suppose trigger the low working memory learning, and also to interleaving is also good at helping improve general learning ability for everything else. And let's see. Recall is harder. Implication that poor working memory gives that. Oh yeah, and Feynman technique can help optimize. The Feynman technique can help make encoding efficient and provides a framework for the encode decode loop. And so let me actually pull the Feynman method back up and put that up there. And I'm going to turn it to 1 line because this does not need to be 3 lines. So tab space. Okay, let's see this. It's explain a thing using simple words, iterate to explain it better in case somebody didn't get it, and then make the words of the iteration easier. Capture more ideas, I suppose. So Feynman tech. Oh gosh. Okay, there we go. So let's see, where are we here? Yeah, and this actually, I need to add that to the interleaving. So interleaving, general learning ability, and discipline. Because if you're allowing yourself to face failure in a different part of your life, then you'll be less, I suppose, crushed when facing that same failure in math, which you have other fears and pains attached to as well. And that makes logical sense as to, why interleaving would make something better for you. And let's see, there's discipline. So the earlier discipline I talked about, right? Discipline has one very important thing that plays into it. So discipline is discipline leads to us. Discipline is a muscle that has to be worked. It's painful, it sucks, it's painful, but if we allow ourselves to face it with no distraction, then we let me actually add this as a separate thing. But if we allow ourselves to face it with no distraction, we can empower ourselves for all future challenges. Because ultimately, this is just one of the main human struggles. It sucks to suck, but everybody's gotta suck. It's the best shot we have against perfectionism in our practice. Okay, let's see. I can toss the Dr. Marty Mobdell idea, because he was essentially trying to allude to the same thing, and the source that we had that was citing him was not the best. Ooh, I need to add the bit about multiple element interactivity. Let me actually add this to the summary as well. Let me pull all of our important realities down. So, boom. And I'm going to cordon off this entire area because now we are wrapping up today's session for that. So let's see, what do we have here? How do we do? Have a goal, aim, or endpoint, have, make a plan, reach there. How do we plan? Have some kind of data, have what kind of data, all of this. How does our brain work? Let me remove the 0 dot thing. So our brain encodes information, enriched by memory juice and produces memory juice, blah, blah, blah. Okay, nice. I need to assess these important realities. So let me convert it to a subheading for that. So human beings, we generally have poor self-assessment due to us all being victims of some level of ego. Now, you're gonna go like, hey man, I hate myself. I can't possibly be struggling from ego. I am self-loathing. Now, to even be able to be self-loathing is an expression of ego, because if you're thinking, like, if you, to see oneself as worthy of hate means seeing yourself as worthy of something, but we're all pretty, like, unspecial. What makes this person special enough to be hated? And it is an egotistical thing to believe that one is worthy of that kind of hate or distaste, because just because of existing and doing nothing. Like, it's a very neutral state to exist in, and unless it's doing anything like unethical, which most likely these people aren't doing. I mean, if you've done something unethical, then you have a pretty strong, like, basis to hate yourself. But if you haven't done anything unethical, then there's no reason to hate yourself. At which case, like, it's probably your ego playing into hating yourself. So people need to just accept that they don't need to hate themselves. And their self-hate is ego, and if they can let go of that by taking some time, taking some space, and then realizing really where they fall in the percentile and what that means. That doesn't mean, oh no, I'm 5th percentile because I'm stupid. What that really means, as in, what percentile of the people who have 3 hours of experience doing something do you fall into, right? So if I've only ever done 1 hour of art my entire life, of course I'm gonna be worse than someone who's done 1,000 hours. Like, who do I think I am that I'll be better than that person? Now, if I instead was a person who'd done 1,000 hours and was worse than a person who did 1,000 hours, then maybe my approach was wrong. Maybe the people I was surrounded by didn't help me change my approach. Maybe my own thinking about it was, not very balanced. It's a matter of, like, what you're willing to face. Because ultimately, it's just, if you do the thing, you get good at the thing. And we have no reason to hate ourselves when we are incredibly average. If you're not good at a thing, how good are you compared to other people who are, like, as experienced as you? Realistically, probably pretty average. Because most of us who aren't good at a thing just haven't done that thing enough. And so beating ourselves up about it doesn't make logical sense anymore, because have we tried? Have we tried to do it with a 50-50 approach of studying and doing? If we haven't, then we probably have a reason for not having gotten good at it. And if we have, then maybe our approach to studying is wrong. There's so much at play, and all we have to do is be willing to accept that those things are at play, and it's nothing to feel emotions about. It is simply just what it is. And honestly, these important realities are is this not an important reality? Let me move that up. Let me move this down. Ooh, there we go. And I will grab all of these and take them up. And let's see. And now I remove the coloration on these, or coloring or whatever. And we are almost done. Oh, this one's a forwards one. Okay. I am going to just format this a little and then controlled distractions are better than uncontrolled distractions, which means high working memory attained. And important Actually, this is a sub point of the above, so let me actually arrow this over here. And where is this? I think we're good now. Nice, we're good. We paste this here, we remove this, and so we have reached an end. Wait, no, we haven't reached an end yet. We're very close to the end. We're gonna see if there's anything else to change off of what we're watching right now, and if there isn't, well, so this guy's formatted really well. We can actually see each advice over here. There's 19 advices over here.
Physical activities that connects the dots together, that turns information into knowledge. Learning is only occurred if the information is something that you can remember, have good retention, depth of understanding, and the ability to 13 years ago when I was my mental health because I was so sleep deprived. Spectrum of effectiveness. Some methods produce almost no real learning, like rereading and just like highlighting things. This is astronomical. A high amount of learning. And thinking about
Having good technique is important.
okay, I'm doing stuff, but how? Number 2, stop looking for study.
There's no study hack that will magically make your brain function differently. I mean, kind of. Depends on how you define a study hack. Like making what were those called? Anagrams? Like not anagrams. Capital, like words that stand for a thing, full caps. Like I don't know. CIA is an example of what is that thing called? Capital letters like CIA mean what? Like what's that thing called? It's an abbreviation, right? Of course, yeah. So abbreviations are a pretty nice study hack. So I don't agree with there being no useful study hacks, or maybe that's not what he means.
In terms of how she needs to improve. And I was explaining this stuff, and I looked up at her. I was done. And so she had been using study hacks and tips for so long that she believed in herself that since all these hacks that are promising her great results are not working, therefore the only logical conclusion left must be she's just too dumb. And I think that's a very sad. So you might look at what successful students. I know this sounds very counterintuitive. If you see someone that's successful, is a very
Oh yeah. I also don't know how to feel about that, but I suppose he's more talking about how to empower yourself, right? If you think that there's some kind of magic that will suddenly make you start learning if you're fundamentally doing the wrong thing, then you're going to start thinking that doing the right thing will make you fix whatever's fundamentally wrong with you. But there's like actually approaching the fundamentals rather than trying to use some magic will make you like actually learn the thing, because ultimately you're just in a fight versus your own brain, right? So there's very little reason to try and think some kind of magic that doesn't end up working alongside your brain will make your brain just suddenly do the thing. It's not going to start running just because you're saying run. It has to walk. It has to be put through that exercise of actually learning and replicating. It has to go through the exercise of decoding and encoding, however you decide to package it.
It doesn't matter how good a screwdriver is, you just cut different tools that you know how to use, and then it has limitations. And just use it for what it's good for and its limitations in the first place. And so that example of this is flashcards. It's not working.
You know, I really wish there was a service that allowed you to convert entire YouTube videos to their transcripts so that I could just read the transcript, because my reading speed is so much faster. This is honestly something AI can probably be useful with, where just like converting the entire video to its transcript.
Offer you a learning toolbox, evaluate a score out of 100. More importantly, link in the description for you the illusion of learning. The illusion of learning is when you do procrastination. So
oh yeah, illusion of learning.
Making progress. So that's
if you force yourself to read and you just think you're in, like your input's eventually reading somewhere, reaching somewhere, it's not gonna unless you're actually outputting.
It's not knowing what to do. Want to give yourself the best chance of being more effective is 6. Test your. And by the time I'm entering the exam, I result to find out. And that sounds good before you walk in. And if you.
That's actually interesting to think of, like that a lot of people don't do this and they end up having to, like, it's so unfortunate that we end up producing these negative ideas about ourselves when we try to see, like, when we see ourselves as flawed because we aren't able to try and, you know, face this. Ooh, what is Bloom's taxonomy? I was not paying attention.
Knowledge very often in a lot of my other videos, like Bloom provides taxonomy. I'm not going to go into it in a lot of depth right now, but basically knowledge can be divided into different levels. At the low levels, it's just memorizing.
Memorizing, understanding. Oh, different levels of knowledge. So if I remember something, I can just like memorize it. Like, oh, this bottle is black. His bottle was black. Understanding is that his bottle is black because of whatever the heck, like the whatever chemical it has in it is black in color, I suppose, or paint or whatever the heck. Applying it is to use that the bottle is black and thus in a room of lights it'll block some light. Analyzing it is to see that a black shield on the floor is going to block even more because it's black like the bottle. Evaluating would be to say, no, my shield is going to be better than your whatever because the blackness of this shield is more black than the blackness of this other thing you have. Produce new original work. I can make a black umbrella that is easier to carry and does that exact same thing. I can see how it works. It's Bloom's taxonomy seems. I think I should actually note this down. So when we're learning how to learn, right? Note Bloom's taxonomy might give us some input on how perhaps learning can be how different forms of learning can have different hurdles, pathways, and things that play into it, right? A lot of people can we know that, you know, when we're learning English, for instance, it's not English, not actually learning the language, like using literature or something, we will generally be using like the first four or maybe even five. Unless we're actually writing literature, we don't produce too much. Oh, I guess it has all of these. I don't quite know what I'm going for, but what I'm essentially trying to say is that there's different parts of knowledge used for different activities, where math has to be learned by doing, whereas literature can be learned by discussing, whereas math is not quite the spectator sport that people are thinking of. Like this one of the first realities you have to face in math, that you can't just learn it from listening or watching.
Interconnected way, in a more complex, more tested, like whether I can actually do that higher level of thinking. And lo and behold, my knowledge, and make sure that you are testing yourself. Then there's
so we really have to actually, you know, put ourselves through this. Let me actually add this to the top of the file because it's important to is it? Not really, actually. I think it's fine where it is. Oh well.
Of understanding how to play, understanding the rules, knowing technically how you're meant to do a serve and do your forehand and backhand. But then there's the ability to actually do it, and understanding the tiny, tiny little nuances where, you know, I guess theoretically you could learn that through a textbook, but realistically it'd just be overwhelming. It's like how you position your foot, exactly, you know, how you arch your back when you do a serve, where you're looking. These tiny, tiny little things that allow you to execute on what you know. And so the first one, which is the theory, is the what. That's called declarative knowledge. And the second one, which is being able to...
Theory is declarative knowledge. So I guess terms. Encode is encodes. Sorry. Extraction is either like is decode, which is memory recall. Decode. Sorry, encode is studying, is encoding, is memory intake. That's two terms. Interleaving means learning many things, many unrelated things, and it interacting. And let's see, what else? There's that one, the topic that was brought up, multiple element interactivity. Yeah, that's the one. Multiple element interactivity is things, complexity of things, more interacting elements, makes cognitive load higher and can bust working memory. There you go.
Do it, the how, a declarative knowledge set of the concepts and understanding. You need both. And the second one, which is being able to do it, the how, that's called procedural knowledge.
Okay, I see what's being talked about. So declarative knowledge. So declarative knowledge is...
And a lot of what? That's called declarative knowledge. And things that allow you to execute on what you know. And so the first one, which is the theory, is the what. That's called declarative knowledge.
Is the what. The what, which is theory. And
the second one, which is being able to do it, the how, that's called procedural.
Procedural knowledge. The how is...
Knowledge. And in a lot of subjects, you need both. Great example is maths or physics, where there is a declarative knowledge set of the concepts and understand.
So declarative knowledge is like concepts. Like, isn't that also the why? Huh.
What things are and being able to find things and being able to look at a question and say, okay, I can understand what relevant concepts are and how I can chain them together. That's the declarative knowledge. But then you have to actually be able to solve the problem, like use the formula and do the right equation.
Using the formula, doing the right equations. Equations.
And then know how to use the equations correctly. is and how to use them. A great example again. So when they get a question that requires them to think about it a bit more conceptually in the declarative type, but you do need to test yourself again with a balance of declarative and procedural, like actually doing stuff. Every mistake again. I think one of the most common is a silly mistake. But here's the thing. It's
We need
probably not.
to start
The truth is,
um
most people
we probably need to enrich this a little. I feel like we have like a basis right now off of like popular knowledge of studying, but in the next stream we're gonna see how we can go into some papers so that we can find out what like modern paper reviews of learning methods say.
do not
Or
lose
maybe
certain
I'm going
knowledge. By the way,
to
that's
fish a
one
little for that
point that I
amongst
So I know
the
the point.
people that I
Another
know.
thing I already studied, and I just
Hmm.
missed those little points. And I used to think that that was because of me making the one that is suffering from a silly mistake. Assume that every time I make a mistake, there's a legitimate reason for me to have made that mistake. There's a real gap in my knowledge. And when I shifted that perspective, what helped me realize is that when I'm writing something and I miss the point and I look at the answer sheet and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I already made a mistake.
Wait a second, sorry,
and
I
that's
zoned out of what he
the
said.
balance is something I call silly mistake syndrome. It is the belief that
Silly
the reason
mistake
you got it wrong
syndrome.
is a silly mistake. But here's the thing. It's probably not. The truth is,
Ooh, that's interesting. Oops, sorry. So I'm gonna go down here, delete this, and I'm going to add to this and go silly mistake syndrome, because I think that's very important to bring up.
most people do not lose enough marks from silly mistakes for it to really matter. I remember distinctly back when I was in my final year of high school, sitting in the library doing these practice test questions, and what I would do is I would write the answer, and then I would check the answer sheet straight away, and then, which by the way, that's not a good technique. And I'd check the answer sheet straight away, and then I'd read the answer, and sometimes I'd get it wrong. But it's not because I was completely wrong with the particular answer. So I'd look in, and then I'd sit the actual exam, and I'd get like 85%.
Huh. So allowing yourself too much leniency, allowing oneself leniency on silly mistakes or final answers is bad for learning. I mean, it makes logical sense. So because, you know, you're just saying, uh-oh, I got it wrong. But then if it's a friggin' surgery or something and you're saying, uh-oh, I forgot to do this, it's gonna lead to a death. So you the self-leniency for uh-ohs is not exactly a very wholesome strategy.
It means that there's a gap. And I said I really dive deeper. I genuinely didn't really understand why it was so important to add into the answer in the first place. And after studying, I've included it because leaving it out is actually incomplete. And speaking as a coach, there are very, very few times when someone is making a silly mistake while having genuinely good levels of knowledge.
Silly mistake while having genuinely new good levels of knowledge. People who make silly mistakes consistently are always the same people who have a gap in their knowledge.
Spaced repetition and active recall properly. If you spend any amount of time watching, studying, and learning videos, you will have heard of spaced repetition and active recall. If you haven't, then I'll really quickly summarize it.
Spaced repetition fits exactly. It's just a strategy for that exact same thing I mentioned a number of times, which is that we need to allow ourselves to forget if we really want to like learn, because it's by engaging with the same ideas over and over that we actually actually create these ideas.
And it's effective because of something called spacing effect, which is basically that your memory is enhanced when you repeat things after a certain wait period. Active recall is when you recall something from your memory. Actually, it's any time you're retrieving knowledge from your memory is technically active recall. So a great example is if someone asks you a question and you answer that question from memory, you're doing active recall. Spaced repetition and active recall are often paired together because a lot of techniques use them together. You do a spaced repetition session using active recall. So for example, if you learn something on Monday and you test yourself with some practice questions and flashcards on Saturday, then that's a spaced active recall session that you're doing. And what most people focus on is just making sure you need to revise this again. But the truth about learning is that the spacing part is, first of all, to how effective the technique is going to be at producing learning. So there's actually two different types of active recall. Arguably, some people say there's three. The first one is cued recall. Cued recall is when there is a cue, like fill in the blanks.
Wait a second. I need to hear that again.
Summarize it. Spaced repetition.
I guess it's showing that I'm starting to get a little tired.
Effective because of something called the spacing effect, which is basically that your memory is enhanced when you
Your memory is enhanced when you repeat things after a certain wait period. So, for example, I talked about like all that jazz before, right? But if I'm able to repeat it, if I'm able to mention it, it becomes it shows that I'm actually like, you know, it'll help me remember it for good. So when a time arrives that when a time arrives that I have to recall any of this, the fact that I'm looking back at it after
Anytime you're retrieving knowledge from your
watching a
memory,
bunch of more
so, for
videos
example, if someone
is
asks you a question,
actually
you answer
storing it in my permanent memory.
Space repetition and active recall are often paired together because a lot of techniques use them together. You do a space repetition session using active recall. So for example, if you learn something on Monday and you test yourself with some practice questions and flashcards on Saturday, then that's a spaced active recall session that you're doing. And what most people focus on is just making sure that spacing is really good and hitting their active recall sessions on anything that's due when their app tells them, hey, you need to revise this again. But the truth about learning is that the spacing part is, first of all, easy to do and much less important than the active recall part. And how you do your active recall makes a very big difference to how effective
How
the
you do
technique
your
will be
active
at
recall?
producing learning. So there's actually two different types of active recall. Arguably, some people say that there's three. The first one is cued recall. Cued recall is when there is a cue, like fill in the blanks or a question prompt that gets you to trigger that memory. Free recall is when you don't have that cue.
Free recall is when you don't have that cue, versus queued have
Fill in the blanks or a question prompt.
fill in the blanks or a
that
question
gets you
prompt
to
that
trigger
gets you
memory.
to trigger
Free
that
recall is when
memory.
you don't have that cue. So something like just writing an essay more openly about a certain topic, that might be something like free recall. If it's a very open-ended question, that would be like free recall. And then there's
Free
actually a third type,
recall.
some people say, which is recognition or recognition-based recall, which is you see something and you assess whether
Types
you can
of
recognize
recall,
that what
there's
it's
three
worth, like
times.
it's a new thing. And then I'll get that memory.
Whoa, this is the multiple element interactivity in this one point is insane. It's really catching me off guard. So this guy needs a separate heading. Types of recall. So
Then I'll really quickly summarize it. Space repetition is
so types of, what
when you
did he
gain
say?
something.
Active recall? Yeah, active recall. Active recall. And then there's spaced repetition. So like, what is he saying?
You will have heard of space repetition and active recall. If you learn something on one day, and then a week later you test yourself, and you test yourself again 2 weeks later, and you test yourself a month later or something like that. And it's effective because of something called the spacing effect, which is basically that your memory is enhanced when you repeat things after a certain wait period.
So let's see. Spacing effect can boost memory, I don't know, memory effectiveness. Spaced repetition is an important tool that's that capitalizes upon this. Okay.
Active recall is when you recall something from your memory. Actually, it's any time you're retrieving knowledge from your memory is technically active recall.
Yeah, anytime you recall something
So,
would
for
be
example,
active
if someone
recall.
asks you a question and you answer that
When someone asks
from
you a
memory,
question and you answer that question from memory, you're doing active recall. Spaced repetition and
Yeah,
active
because a
recall
lot of
often
techniques
pair
use
together
them
because of a lot of techniques use them together. Spaced repetition, yeah, of
a
course.
space repetition session using active recall. So, for example, if you learn something on Monday and you test yourself with some practice questions and flashcards on Saturday, then that's a spaced active recall session that you're doing. And
Yeah.
what most people focus on is just making sure that spacing is.
You
really good.
make sure
And,
that spacing is
hitting
good,
the
so
active
you
recall sessions on
hit your active
and
recall
what's important
settings.
in the active recall part.
Spacing easy to
How you
do,
your
active recall
makes
is
a
hard to do.
very big
So
difference
space
to how
them,
effective the technique
and
is going to be
then
at
make big difference effectiveness. The technique's going to be at
producing learning.
producing
So there's actually
learning.
two different
So
types
there's
of active
two
recall.
different types of active recall.
The first one is cued recall.
Cued recall.
Cued recall is when there is a cue, like fill in the blanks or a question prompt that gets you to trigger that memory.
Okay.
Cued recall is when
Okay. So the first one is cued recall. Is cued spelled C-U-E or? Right. Cued would be how it's spelled, right? Because I know Q is C-U-E, so cued. Meaning, I guess. Like this is how it would be spelled, right? Yeah, of course. That makes sense. So, cued recall, which requires you to have a specific memory or idea triggered from a question. Which is why it's important to actually, this is why make a question sheet for something and randomize it for your test, for your self-test. Either that or exhaustively do it, but that can end up causing the... So, if you don't randomize a self-test, you can cause a machine learning overfitting problem in your brain. By remembering all of the answers for all of the questions, you don't trigger the same learning that would have happened from
a cue, like
having
fill in the
some of the
blanks or a question
questions
prompt,
at a
that
random
gets you to
time.
trigger that memory.
Because,
Free
and even when you do get the questions right, if you're doing it with some of the questions, right, there's that thing where you'll actually you won't overload your mind with learning if you're just studying. I guess no, it's that doesn't make sense. You should be able to answer all the questions. Never mind. I disregard everything I said. We don't need to randomize it. Randomizing it just lets us make the box smaller, but we don't need that. So make a question sheet for your self-test. We don't need to randomize it.
Recall is when you don't have that cue. So something like just writing an essay more open.
Free recall. Writing an essay. Don't have memories triggered. And try to recall. This is like those 10-mark questions we used to get back in A-level bio, where they tell us like so much that we have to like do, I guess. And we just do it. Like they ask us about how our entire system works, and we just have to have the right words over there.
Some people say, which is recognition. Recognition.
Recognition, what does that do? How does recognition work?
Based recall. Call comes from the free recall, not whether you can recognize at one, whether it feels like it's a or recognition-based recall, which is you see something and you assess whether you can recognize at one, whether it feels like it's a new thing. And the main benefit of active recall comes from the free recall.
I guess that falls into MCQs. Is that why the A levels have these type of questions? That's actually so interesting. MCQs? Yo, where'd my thing go? Did I close my browser? No way I closed my browser.
Free recall is when you don't have that cue. So
Okay.
something like just writing an essay.
Whoa, hearing him in 1x just like nuked my brain.
More openly or recognition. And the main benefit lies that cue, which means you have a flashcard that you've done so many times, and then you answer that question. And the answer to that question is like realize that. Free recall is when you don't, it'll be like free recall. And then there's actually a third type some people say, which is recognition, or recognition-based recall, which is you see something and you assess whether you can recognize at one, whether it feels like it's a new thing. And the main benefit of active recall comes from the free recall, not the cued recall, and definitely not from recognition. But most people don't realize that.
Free recall is the most important, huh? Oh yeah, that makes sense as well, because MCQs aren't very useful at helping us remember.
These three things are different. That's cued. That asks you a specific question. And then you answer that question. And the answer to that question is like 1 or 2 words. That's cued. What that means is that when you answer that question, what you're training your ability to do is recalling that fact from that cue, which means anytime you're asked about that information without that cue, it becomes harder. And sometimes
Yeah, of course. Because if you're asked about, let's say, how does the lymphatic system work, right? It's going to be a lot harder than answering the question of what is the role of XYZ chemical in the lymphatic system, right? Because you're not going to be thinking of that chemical. So it's a new idea, a hook for you to be able to answer the full question.
how this happens when you have a
So
flashcard that
it
you've
makes
done
sense.
so many times that without even finishing reading the question, you already know the answer. Like the recall, if you're at that point, you're no longer actually testing on your ability to recall that knowledge. All you're doing is you're testing your ability to match these words to these words.
Yeah. Ends up testing, matching your... Wait, let me... Ends up testing how well you can word match. Actually, that's for both of them. So... Free recall is important as it doesn't... As unlike the others, it doesn't allow you to cheat using simple word match. Simple mental word match. I see.
So one thing that you can do, and this is a tip that I give to everyone who's using flashcards, is to swap out your cues. Change your questions regularly.
And changing your questions, actually, that works. That makes sense. Okay, so earlier I was like, you don't need to change your questions, but actually you do. Because changing out your questions, randomizing questions allows you to prevent queued recall or recognition. Because yeah, it's that the AI overfitting effect.
The actual question you're asking. You can still test the same concepts or the same fact, and they can't. But instead of just admitting that you failed to remember it, and often this happens with people that have a ton of flashcards because they know that as soon as they mark it wrong, they're gonna have to do that again in like the next few hours. What they do is they just click the answer, they look at the answer, and they think, oh yeah, that's right. It's like, yeah, we know it's right. It's the answer. So there's no point doing that. Like that's the ultimate illusion. Like you're tricking yourself into thinking that you know it. You literally just proved that you didn't know it. So if you go and form,
that means if you want to learn something, you have to trigger free recall as often as possible. Which means, if I'm learning how to do a coding question, for instance, I should put myself in a situation where I should I just like I see the question, and without coding or without looking at a flashcard, I should be able to. I mean, no, that's obvious, but that's
because you recognize it, you think that means that you can actually
interesting. That you have to try and give yourself as few breadcrumbs as possible if you're trying to
then your space when you do really good active recall, you've got more room for
learn or remember
something.
something.
Method is really bad, very queued or even recognition based. Then your memory.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. The chat that I have, right? Wait 1 moment. The chat that I have, I can make it like time out at a certain point. I don't know why I have it why I have its timeout set to like infinity or something. Oops. And timeout equals 2000, I guess. I'm gonna type something in my own chat to test. And does it time out? Does it time out? Does it time out? It's 20 seconds. Oh geez. Oh well, I'll look into that later.
That is so fragile. You need to repeat that like every 1 or 2 days, otherwise you're losing that memory. We call it knowledge decay. Your knowledge decay is very fast. When you have an active recall that induces more learning, then your knowledge decay is slower. Your memory is stronger, which means you don't actually have to space it so frequently. You can get away with not looking at it for like 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. So start doing
I'm gonna do it one more time.
Yes,
with
it does take more time and effort.
S,
and it's not as
the
brain dead
timeout
easy.
of 20. Is it supposed to have S in front of it? Anyways, I'm gonna leave it there.
Spamming 100 flashcards. But also, when it comes to learning, you don't really want brain dead. Number 11, rote memorize, but only as a last resort. What is rote memorization? Rote memorization is learning.
Oop, never mind that. I guess I'll just remove that and short link in 2 lines, font. Chat only, smooth, fade out. Okay.
Through is going to be painful. I didn't even really know that there were other ways of learning. For me, it was just sometimes I can understand it and it will just click and I don't need to rote memorize it because I just get it. But then sometimes I can't get it and then I have to rote memorize it. And so that's not really a technique. You know, that's not a learning system. And the reason rote memorization needs to be a last resort is not because it's not is repetitive. And
rote memorization
sustainable. And it's understanding that even if it takes a little bit longer right now to learn it and learn it probably the first time,
rote memorization actually ends up blocking your brain in a way, because if you end up memorizing something, then you can end up blocking your ability to learn it. That's interesting. People who are really good at rote learning something will end up getting bad at learning something.
That's only half the information is that a small last resort, but we're at the resort right now. With these different techniques, you can look them up. Just make sure. I remember in my 3rd year of medical, either studying or learning me. And so I actually ended up not in the way that easily distracted. Having friends to keep you focused and keep you accountable can be useful. Unfortunately, sometimes they're the cause of the distraction. Agenda, like, okay, we all think the same way, system, or like structure time, or to make sure no one gets to survive, then you can do whatever. Almost never see in students, like outside of in my program that I'm directly teaching this to, is use your friends to find gaps for each other. That into a whole part for your friends, taking a practice exam to check with your notes to make.
Oh yeah, having practice exams in a community. Space out your studying and your self-test. Okay. Community practice exams are a great way to help discipline and accountability.
Make sure you're learning, but then by exchanging an infinite practice paper to no answer sheet. And a lot of the time, those points of difference actually become make one exam and then make even fun. And it's like, I promise I do other trying to keep up. First, and to stop falling behind, the easiest way is to get ahead. And you don't actually need to catch up to get ahead.
Oh
This is a
yeah,
mind-blowing
just
thing for
studying
a lot
ahead
of
of class.
Imagine you're on a sinking ship.
Studying
You don't need
ahead
to
of
get all the water out of the ship
class
first before you plug the
helps
hole. In
absorb
fact, that's
concepts
illogical.
better.
You plug the hole first. It's the same thing with learning. If you're falling behind now, there's this backlog of stuff that you need to study and catch up. Like what you're doing now, that is to do that if you're short on time. Believe that learning through what you're about to learn and getting a big picture overview of what it's talking about. What are the main ideas? What are the main groups of ideas? And how does it generally connect together? It's
Scoping out and writing out general ideas helps. At being able to frame whatever a teacher is teaching.
It's just technique. Telling it why it's of this huge library. You know how and you desperately need to. You went into the library somewhere over there. And it's also trying to. Your brain is just trying to keep you aggressively, really new concepts. Next up, use cognitive load to delete passive learning. Cognitive load is the fancy term for that doesn't involve high mental effort. And in fact, it's also fairly passive. And different techniques on effort. So, for example, creating summary pages is more effective. And then turning those summary pages into something that's non-linear and relational takes a little bit more effort. And then teaching it to a 10-year-old and simplifying those.
Okay, yeah. Force yourself to try and do things with your learnings rather than actually learning. Rather than just passive learning, force active efforts to help keep the memory in, which means summarize notes, Feynman technique, and that makes sense. Just doing things with it will help you actually learn, but just reading and forgetting will make you read and forget.
There's a high likelihood that you're doing passive learning, and those need to be massive red flags. Fine. You want to be able to train yourself to be aware when you're studying, what's the level of mental exertion, cognitive load that I'm feeling. Massive red flag, it's fine, right? If it's low, there's a high likelihood that you're doing passive learning, and those need to be massive red flags that you look.
I guess not feeling as tired when studying. Having low cognitive load is a good indicator of passive learning.
Okay, identify sleep and getting drowsy. Those are areas where your brain's basically falling asleep.
About to fall asleep. Okay, actually, holy shit. Falling asleep while studying means studying might indicate this. Because if you're falling asleep, you're clearly not stressed out or something, and if you're not stressed out or something, then you might not quite know
so much of my
what's...
learning was passive, pretty juicy. For example, if I say life is like a journey, then that's an analogy because I'm highlighting the similarities between life and two different concepts and compare them. And actively forming analogies from what you're learning is those analogies. So let's say I take an analogy like life is a journey. Critiquing that means really examining the analogy that I've created to see if it's more unpredictable. You don't know where like a spontaneous journey. And you might say, okay, well, where you want to go and then go there without... You see what's going on is that the analogy is to critique an analogy and enhance it. It forces you to examine the information and topic much more deeply and much more critically. And that also, in that case, analogies. And if you're already making analogies, critiquing that means really examining the analogy that I've created. Because life is more unpredictable, you don't know where you're headed, whereas with most journeys, you kind of know where the end point is. And also, life has more unpredictable elements. You might say, okay, in that case, life is like a spontaneous journey through a foggy, treacherous forest mountain. Okay, you see what's going on is that the analogy is growing in order to be more comprehensive, and it forces you to examine the information and topic much more.
Making an analogy helps because it allows you to... Because actually thinking about it allows you to...
a high level of learning. And again, you can actually just test this. You can take two
test
sets of concepts, spend a bit of
Huh.
time really making that memory and your depth of understanding. If you are serious about learning
Make analogies?
to learn, long process to really create a personalized learning system. In fact, it's in a short that influence.
Having a
You
learning
like a
system is
thing,
useful.
What do I think? This thing, and bother keeping alert. Like, what are the actual techniques they see on
Okay. That's a lot to be able to digest. So obviously, following his own advice, I'm going to be looking at it tomorrow as well. But this marks the end of today's stream. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being around. And the next time we do this tomorrow, we'll be looking into how modern research papers play into the ideas that we've absorbed from the recent media we've been consuming, which is just the most popular thing, and we'll see how it holds up to current academia. So, right, have a great day, everyone. Bye bye. Ooh, one more thing I want to do actually. I need to find out who to raid. I forgot that was a thing. Oh geez. So